Chapter 71. Want to divorce you? Shock and disbelief flooded Jiang Yuan's eyes at Zhou Rongfang's words. His gaze shifted toward her, carrying an unfamiliar undertone. The room sank into silence. Suddenly, Jiang Yuan addressed Zhou Rongfang. Forget it. I realize now that I'm powerless. Given that, you should leave. Though Jiang Yuan's voice was soft, every onlooker could hear it clearly. Zhou Rongfang froze in surprise, and Jiang Peihuan, upon hearing his words, revealed a startled expression. She had an inkling about what Jiang Yuan was implying as expected. Jiang Yuan, what exactly are you saying? My intent is clear. I'm giving you a divorce letter. Once you accept it, you're free to leave Jiang Mansion. And me? What did you just say? Zhou Rongfang paled instantly at Jiang Yuan's words. She gazed at him in shock, as if he was a stranger to her. After his declaration, Jiang Yuan seemed to breathe easier. Meeting Zhou Rongfang's stunned expression, he repeated, I said, I want a divorce from you. Jiang Yuan, you heartless man. How dare you consider divorcing me? Enraged, Zhou Rongfang lunged at Jiang Yuan, relentlessly attacking him. Jiang Yuan, a martial artist, easily evaded her strikes, not fighting back. Soon, scratches marred his face, inflicted by Zhou Rongfang's frantic onslaught. What is going on? Old Madame Jiang had been awaiting news in the chrysanthemum hall, receiving none for quite some time. She had no choice but to lean on Nanny Zu's arm and move to the front hall, where she walked into the ongoing commotion. The sight of Jiang Yuan's scratched face caused the old madam to glower at Zhou Rongfang. Rongfang, what are you doing? Mother, he is driving me to my death. Hearing the old madam's voice, Zhou Rongfang ceased her assault, but fell to her knees, sobbing in front of old Madame Jiang. Seeing Zhou Rongfang's tear-streaked face, old Madame Jiang frowned but spoke gently. If you have grievances, voice them properly. What is the use of this crying? Mother, Jiang Yuan wants to divorce me. This news caused the old madam to raise her eyebrows in surprise. She knew her second son well. Despite his stern nature, he was fundamentally kind-hearted. Turning to Jiang Yuan, the old madam inquired softly, Jiang Yuan, is this true? Yes. Mother, you heard him. He indeed wants to divorce me. He's driving me to suicide. I might as well die now. If you indeed wish to die, I can arrange for someone to fetch a rope right now. Old Madame Jiang cut off Zhou Rongfang's dramatic outcry. Under her fierce gaze, Zhou Rongfang dared not say more, only crying quietly. Old Madame Jiang surveyed the room, her gaze finally settling on Jiang Peihuan. Huan Er, enlighten me. What exactly transpired here? Grandmother, to be precise, all this started because of me, confessed Jiang Peihuan. She recounted everything from start to finish. When Jiang Peihuan spoke of Zhou Rongfang's actions, old Madame Jiang looked at her with an icy demeanor. However, while addressing Jiang Yuan, she continued to defend Zhou Rongfang. You've been warring abroad for years, and it was your wife who managed the household in your absence. Now on your return, you wish to part ways with her. How does that make any sense? Mother, is it truly her? Jiang Yuan wanted to reprimand Zhou Rongfang for her excessive actions, but when he thought about her years of toil and dedication, he ended up not voicing any complaints. As the old madam praised her efforts, Zhou Rongfang's sobs grew even more sorrowful. Having addressed Jiang Yuan, old Madame Jiang shifted her attention towards Zhou Rongfang. Enough, no more tears. Every action has its consequence. You must be aware of the amount of work Huan Er has put in. You need not be grateful to her. But if you had even a shred of conscience, you wouldn't slander her this way. Is it because Huan Er didn't please you, while Ruyin did? Upon hearing old Madame Jiang's words, guilt swam in Zhou Rongfang's eyes. Her daughter's life was virtually in shambles. Yet, after Jiang Peihuan's betrothal was cancelled, she could joyously become a princess. How is that fair? Huan Er shares the surname Jiang, and so does Ruyin. Even Huan Er understands the principle of shared honor and disgrace. Have you lived these many years in vain? Mother, I realize my mistakes. Jiang Yuan, you've been at war for countless years. Regardless of your wife's wrongdoings, you owe her. If you truly wish for a divorce, discuss it with her. If she consents, I won't interfere. But if she declines, you have no right to insist. Have you understood my words? Yes, I understand, mother. Huan heir, will you escort me back? Old Madame Jiang's gaze rested on each individual, before finally settling on Jiang Peihuan. Upon hearing her request, Jiang Peihuan moved forward to support her. Upon reaching the chrysanthemum hall, Jiang Peihuan knelt down before the old madam. Seeing this, the old madam promptly spoke. Huan heir, what on earth are you doing? Stand up at once. Grandmother, I've been too petty. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, a twinge of sadness entered the old madam's eyes. She personally helped Jiang Peihuan up and gestured her to sit by her side. Then she spoke in a gentle tone. If you call yourself petty, then isn't everyone in this world a saint? Huan heir, if I could, I would rather you were more like Sijin, more naive. You're intelligent and steadfast, which can be exhausting over time. When King Chung brought up the marriage proposal, I assumed he was speaking casually. I didn't think he was truly fond of you. Huan heir, out of everyone I worry about you the most. Grandmother, there's no need to worry. Huan heir can take care of herself. Jiang Peihuan lowered herself gently, resting her head against old Madame Jiang knee. The old madam hand smoothed her long hair. After a considerable pause, she spoke softly. King Chung may seem prestigious, but he is also a nuisance to many. Marrying him won't guarantee your peaceful days ahead. Grandmother, I have faith in him. Recalling his words, Jiang Peihuan, lying on the old madam lap, whispered. While the Jiang mansion was in chaos, a storm was brewing in the palace. At Xinang Palace, Emperor, you are indeed audacious to have Jiang Hong's eldest daughter betrothed to Xiao Nanik. What were you thinking? Grand Empress Dowager, eyes filled with restrained fury, questioned Emperor Qi Ming. Bewildered by her words, he asked, Mother, is there something improper? Indeed it is. Given Jiang Hong's distinctive status, binding him to Xiao Nanik would make Nani your arch-nemesis in the future. Mother, why do you harbor such a strong prejudice against Nani? It's not about me taking issue with him. It's about you pampering and overindulging him too much. Chapter 72. Xiao Nani must be eliminated. I must admit, I have indeed spoiled Nani a bit. But he has never taken undue advantage to do anything outrageous. Isn't his behavior outrageous enough already? Aren't all those tales of his audacity and arrogance untrue? Had Emperor Qi Ming not brought it up, things might have been better. But at his words, the Grand Empress Dowager's eyes flashed with anger. She wanted to reveal that Xiao Nani was not the late emperor's true son, but she couldn't. Questioning Xiao Nany's lineage equated to questioning the previous emperor, an affront to the imperial family. This had to be dealt with discreetly, not publicly. Emperor Qi Ming couldn't fathom why the Grand Empress Dowager disapproved of Xiao Nani. He presumed it was out of fear. After a moment of contemplation, he said quietly, Mother, I've watched Nani grow up. I trust his character. For my sake, please don't give him a hard time. I have already decreed the marriage, so the matter will not change. After making this declaration, Emperor Qi Ming left the Grand Empress Dowager's Xinang Palace promptly. As he walked away, the Grand Empress Dowager turned visibly pale. The old nanny nearby quickly moved closer. Grand Empress, please look after your health. You saw how much the Emperor guards that miscreant. I can't wait any longer. I must hasten to eliminate him before he becomes a catastrophe. Send him a message. Xiao Nani must be eliminated within the next 3 months. Grand Empress, he is the only one left in King Cheng's mansion loyal to us. Are you sure you want to employ him? As long as I can kill Xiao Nani, I don't care about anything else. Upon hearing the Grand Empress Dowager's words, the old nanny quietly left the Xinang Palace. General Mansion. In the Plum Garden. Elder sister, why are you up so early? It was barely dawn, but Jiang Sijin noticed that Jiang Peihuan's clothes were completely soaked in sweat. Noticing Jiang Sijin approaching, Jiang Peihuan stowed away the long whip she had been holding. She accepted a handkerchief from Jiang Sijin, dabbed the sweat off her forehead, then asked softly, Why are you here so early? Mother sent me to find you. She mentioned that we are going out today. On hearing this, Jiang Peihuan nodded. She hadn't slept a wink the previous night, her mind awash with turmoil. In her restlessness, She had decided to practice martial arts, which had resulted in her current sweaty state. Interestingly, the exercise seemed to ease some of her tension. "Miss, I have prepared some hot water for you. You should quickly freshen up and change into clean clothes," Yu urged as soon as Jiang Peihuan stepped inside the house. "All right." After acknowledging Yu, Jiang Peihuan turned to Jiang Xijin and inquired, "Do you know where Mother plans to take us?" "I'm not sure. Mother didn't say anything. She just instructed us to be ready to leave." "Fine, wait for me for a bit. We'll join Mother for breakfast." "Got it. Third miss, please have some pastries while you wait." After Jiang Peihuan disappeared into the bathroom, Yu brought a tray of pastries and tea for Jiang Xijin. "Thank you, Sister Yu." After expressing her gratitude to Yu, Jiang Xijin began to munch on the pastries happily. By the time Jian Peihuan came out of the bathroom, Jiang Xijin had already devoured every last pastry from the tray. Giving her a look, Jiang Peihuan couldn't resist teasing, "You've gobbled up so many pastries. Will you still have room for breakfast?" "HCHC, Sister Yu's pastries are just too delicious to resist." With a playful smile in response to Jiang Peihuan's teasing, Jiang Xijin stepped forward and wrapped her arm around her sister's. A hint of amused resignation flashed in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. She reached out and lightly tapped Jiang Xijin's forehead. "Oh, you." When they arrived at Yanlin, Shuiyan had already neatly packed up. Apart from Shuiyan, Wuxia was also present. "Third aunt, what brings you to Mother's place today?" At Jiang Xijin's question, Wuxia simply smiled without answering, turning her gaze to Jiang Peihuan. Confusion filled Jiang Peihuan's eyes. Upon seeing this, Shuiyan intervened. "Let's have breakfast first. We can talk more afterwards." Shortly after breakfast, Shuiyan and Wuxia led Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Xijin outside. While the carriage was moving, Shuiyan turned to Jiang Peihuan and said, "Since you and King Cheng have already set a wedding date, your dowry should be prepared sooner rather than later. I have been traveling with your father these past years and have neglected to prepare your dowry. Now we will have to purchase ready-made items." Dowries for noble daughters are typically prepared from a young age. However, Shuiyan had been accompanying Jiang Hong in his travels and battles, causing her to overlook this tradition. Upon remembering this, guilt shimmered in Shuiyan's eyes. Seeing the hint of worry in Shuiyan's eyes, Jiang Peihuan reached out to reassure her. "Mother, there's no need to be anxious. We still have 3 months. We'll manage everything in time." "Indeed, sister-in-law. If we can't accumulate enough, I can always pick some things from my dowry," she added casually. "What nonsense. You still have Songbai. How could you possibly take from your own dowry?" "My dear sister-in-law, you're well aware of my situation. I don't have much, but I'm not short on gold and silver. Although Huan isn't my biological child, she shares a strong bond with Songbai, and I've watched her grow up." "Third aunt, does that mean you'll also prepare a dowry for me?" Jiang Xijin chimed in with a playful grin after hearing the exchange between Wuxia and Shuiyan. Her comment lightened the mood, eliciting laughter from everyone in the carriage. Shuiyan, albeit slightly annoyed, reassured her, "Your father and I wouldn't dare shortchange your dowry." "Huh. Of course not. After all, who could ever complain about having too much money?" "You're absolutely right, dear. Don't worry. When it's your turn to get married, Third aunt will certainly prepare a hefty dowry for you." Despite the fact that the marriage had been bestowed, Jiang Peihuan hadn't truly felt its reality until now. Hearing Shuiyan and the others discuss these arrangements touched her in a way she hadn't anticipated. Their carriage then came to a halt. "We've arrived at the treasure pavilion, madam," announced a servant from outside. "All right, let's head into the treasure pavilion first." At Shuiyan's command, Jiang Xijin was the first to hop off the carriage, followed by Jiang Peihuan. Once they'd assisted Shuiyan and Wuxia down from the carriage, the group of 4 headed into the treasure pavilion together. Since it was still early, the pavilion wasn't crowded. Nevertheless, Jiang Peihuan instantly noticed Lin Mengyao, who stood by a cabinet. Upon hearing their entrance, Lin Mengyao turned to look at the doorway. Seeing Jiang Peihuan, her eyes briefly sparkled before she greeted them with a warm smile. "Greetings, madam." And who might this be? Shui Yin watched Lin Mingyao, curiosity reflected in her eyes. Jiang Xijin stepped up to clarify. Mother, this is Miss Lin, the daughter of General Lin Rahai. Upon hearing the name Lin Rahai, a flash crossed Shui Yan's eyes. However, she smiled at Lin Mingyao and said, Miss Lin, there's no need to be overly formal. Sister-in-law, this white jade necklace is quite remarkable. Chapter 73. It was something Jiang Peihuan did not want. Lu Xiu, hailing from a merchant background, had a habitual knack for observing merchandise in each shop she entered. It was this very habit that led her to notice the white jade necklace that Mingyao Lin had just set aside. The necklace was predominantly gold, but the quality of the white jade adorning it was commendable. You've grown accustomed to exquisite things since childhood, she mused. If you say it's a good piece, then it surely must be. Having spoken, Shui Yin turned to the approaching shopkeeper. How much for this necklace? The madam has a discerning eye, complimented the shopkeeper. This white jade necklace is a new addition to our shop, retailing at 5,000 taels. 5,000 taels? Shui Yin, a military general by origin, was no stranger to the value of jewelry, yet market prices remained somewhat foreign to her. The quoted price startled her. She then shifted her attention to Lu Xiu. Reading Shui Yan's surprise, Lu Xiu responded with a smile. Shopkeeper, this white jade necklace, though of fine quality, isn't quite worth 5,000 taels. Let's settle at 4,500 taels. We have quite a few items on our shopping list today. A bit of a discount would be appreciated. In that case, let's follow the price madam said. The shopkeeper conceded. Madam Jiang, my young lady was the first one to lay eyes on this necklace. A voice suddenly interjected. The speaker was Baowan, Lin Mingyao's maid. Shui Yin and Lu Xiu both looked at Lin Mingyao on hearing this. Baowan, mind your manners. Lin Mingyao chided her maid before turning to Shui Yin and offering. I sincerely apologize. Although Lin Mingyao's words suggested an apology, her eyes revealed not a trace of genuine remorse. She had been drawn to this necklace from the moment she walked in, but a price tag of 5,000 taels seemed a tad steep for her. However, she was willing to part with 4,500 taels. At her words, Shui Yan's eyebrows knitted together in a frown. Just as she was about to voice her thoughts, her eldest daughter tugged at her sleeve. Jiang Peihuan, having glanced at Lin Mingyao, spoke in a nonchalant tone. Since Miss Lin set her heart on it first, it should rightfully be hers. Once done, Jiang Peihuan addressed Shui Yin and Lu Xiu. Mother, third aunt, let's browse for other items. This necklace doesn't quite appeal to me. All right, if you don't fancy it, we shall look for something else. Sister-in-law, how about we visit Linglong Pavilion next door? Lu Xiu suggested in a soft voice. Lu Xiu said softly. With a nod, Shui Yin prepared to exit. However, she was halted by the shopkeeper behind her. Madam, please hold on a moment. The shopkeeper glanced at the white jade necklace, then whispered, Madam, we have another necklace in our shop. Its quality surpasses this white jade one. Would you care to see it? Superior quality? Bring it to me. Please wait a moment, madam. Upon seeing the contents of the box, a flicker of surprise crossed Jiang Peihuan's eyes. Looking at the things in the box, Jian Peihuan's eyes flashed with surprise. The necklace was also crafted from gold, but it was embellished with blood-red jade. A large ruby hung from the pendant at the bottom. Upon seeing the necklace, Jiang Peihuan instinctively looked at her own ruby ring. The colors seemed to match quite well. This necklace is indeed remarkable. Having seen many fine items before, Lu Xiu couldn't hide a hint of astonishment when she saw this necklace. Shui Yin also found the necklace beautiful, but she turned to Jiang Peihuan, asking softly, Huan Heir, do you fancy this necklace? Yes, I rather like it. If you like it, then mother will buy it for you. Seeing Jiang Peihuan nod, Shui Yin beamed at the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper, could you wrap this necklace for me? Hearing Shui Yan's words, a subtle smile surfaced on Jiang Peihuan's lips. Mother, you haven't asked the shopkeeper the price of this necklace. No matter the cost, if you like it, mother will buy it for you. Shopkeeper, wrap it up. Yes, madam. A broad smile spread across the shopkeeper's face. After packing the box, he turned to Shui Yan. Madam, this necklace is a bit pricier than the white jade one. It will cost 6,000 taels. Very well. Nodding, Shui Yan took out several bank notes and handed them to the shopkeeper. After receiving the items from the shopkeeper, Shui Yan turned to Jiang Peihuan. Huan heir, is there anything else you're interested in? No more. Upon hearing Shui Yan's words, Jiang Peihuan shook her head. Seeing her response, Shui Yan smiled. That's fine. Let's visit the neighboring Linglong Pavilion. All right. Shui Yan and the rest nodded at Lin Mingyao and left. Mingyao Lin clenched her fists tightly as she watched them leave. At this moment, the shopkeeper, smiling, approached her. Miss Lin, would you like me to wrap up this white jade necklace for you? Lin Mingyao wanted to decline. She had taken a fancy to this white jade necklace at first sight, but it was something Jiang Peihuan did not want. However, upon meeting the shopkeeper's gaze, she swallowed her laughter and nodded. That would be kind of you. Miss Lin, I will only charge you 4,500 taels for this necklace, as we had initially agreed with Madame Jiang. Thank you, shopkeeper. With a smile, Mingyao Lin accepted the box from the shopkeeper. As soon as she stepped out of the 100 Treasures Pavilion, her smile faltered, unable to maintain its warmth any longer. Once she settled in the carriage, she swiftly swung her hand, landing a solid slap across Bao Wan's face. An immediate imprint of 5 fingers marked Bao Wan's face. She didn't dare to utter a cry. Instead, she hastily knelt, pleading, Miss, this is all Bao Wan's fault. Please find your calm. As she spoke, Bao Wan extended her hand, slapping herself repeatedly. Mingyio's eyes, icy and detached, watched Bao Wan. Blood began to leak from the corner of Bao Wan's mouth. Regardless, Mingyao displayed no intention of ordering her to stop. Suddenly, a voice from outside interrupted them. Eldest Miss, the Prince Qing has arrived at the mansion. The master requests your immediate return. Quickly, we must return to the mansion. At these words, a trace of delight surfaced in Mingyio's eyes. She turned to Bao Wan, still kneeling to one side, her voice cold. Enough. Tossing a bottle of medicine to Bao Wan, she spoke in a low voice. If anyone asks, you know what to say, right? Yes, I clumsily fell, Mississippi. This is top-notch injury medicine. Apply it yourself later. Thank you, Mississippi. Bao Wan quickly collected the medicine bottle, then bowed her head, and moved to kneel in a corner of the carriage. Meanwhile, at Lin Mansion. Prince, I prepared this cake personally for you. Xiao Juanhao, seated in the pavilion, examined the woman before him. His eyes were filled with mockery, yet Lin Mengxin remained oblivious, blind to the derision in the man's gaze. All she saw was his strikingly handsome face. She picked up a piece of cake, presenting it to Xiao Juanhao, nearly bringing it to his mouth. Thank you, third miss. Xiao Juanhao graciously accepted the pastry from Lin Mengxin. However, just as he was about to take a bite, someone whisked the pastry away from him. Your Highness, this pastry may be difficult to digest. It would be better if you refrained from eating it. Chapter 74: One won't hesitate to take you down first. Lin Mingyao softly removed the pastry from Xiao Junhao's hand. Upon seeing her, a hint of warmth glowed in Xiao Junhao's eyes. You're back. Apologies for keeping you waiting, Your Highness. Observing the man's familiar demeanor, a hint of delight emerged on Lin Mingyio's face. No worries at all, he replied calmly. Why don't you come and sit in my courtyard, Your Highness? Sure. Xiao Juanhao gave a nod of agreement, then followed her to leave, leaving Lin Mengxin alone in the pavilion. As she watched them depart, Mengxin clenched her fists tightly. Why did you visit the manor today, Your Highness? Lin Mingyao didn't ask about the prior incident. After serving Xiao Juanhao a cup of tea, she turned the conversation to serious matters. Upon hearing this, Xiao Junhao's face turned serious. My father has already betrothed Jiang Peihuan to King Cheng. Betrothed to King Cheng? Lin Mingyio's eyes were wide with surprise and mixed emotions at Xiao Junhao's revelation. She felt a rush of joy upon learning that Jiang Peihuan was betrothed, which meant she no longer had to worry about marrying Xiao Juanhao. However, the reality that Jiang Peihuan was betrothed to King Cheng, a man of unparalleled power, stirred a sense of unease in her. Is Jiang Peihuan truly that fortunate? She pondered. Jiang Hong willingly surrendered his commander seal. Soon after, my father arranged Jiang Sehuan's betrothal to King Cheng. As it stands, I can no longer rely on the general's mansion, Xiao Juanhao revealed. Yao heir, the only one who can help me now is you. What does your highness need me to do? My father plans to construct a palace in the outskirts. If I could oversee this project, I would have frequent opportunities to be in his presence. You should visit the eldest princess more often in the coming days. I hope my father entrusts me with this responsibility. All right, Yao heir understands. I'll pay a visit to the eldest princess later. Thank you for your effort. Hearing Lin Mengio's words, Xiao Juanhao extended his hand to caress her long hair. Seeing the tenderness in his eyes, she firmly grasped his hand. Yao heir is willing to do anything for your highness, so it doesn't feel like a burden at all. Since her rebirth, Jiang Peihuan continued to exercise daily. She believed her stamina was more than adequate, but in that moment, she truly felt the weariness seeping into her. Noticing Shui Yan and Lu Xiu pressing on with their shopping, Jiang Peihuan could not help but voice out. Mother, we can't possibly finish shopping in a day. Maybe we should come back in a couple of days. Let's call it a day and head home. Yes, mother. My legs are about to break. Jiang Xijin chimed in, rubbing her waist. She regretted her decision to tag along, unaware of the exhaustion shopping could bring. You two simply need to exercise more. Look at your third aunt. She's no martial artist, yet she isn't complaining, Shui Yan chided them. Hearing this, Lu Xiu reddened slightly. Sister-in-law, although I'm no expert in martial arts, I used to play outside with my brothers since childhood. In terms of stamina, I'm not far behind. Why don't we rest and grab a bite at the Pine and Crane Pavilion? Suggested Jiang Peihuan, spotting the restaurant nearby. Shui Yan, herself feeling a bit worn out, nodded in agreement upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's suggestion. The four of them walked into the Pine and Crane Pavilion. Spotting them, a waiter immediately attended to them. Madam, would you prefer to be seated in the main hall or a private room? We'll take a private room. Very well, please follow me upstairs. Leading the way, the waiter escorted them to a private room on the second floor. Once the tea was served, he addressed Shui Yan with a polite smile. Madam, enjoy your tea. Your food will be up shortly. Thank you, Shui Yan responded. Jiang Peihuan poured tea for each of them, first setting a cup before Shui Yan, then passing one to Lu Xiu. Mother, third aunt, have some tea to refresh yourselves. Huan heir, you've also been on your feet all day. Relax a bit, Lu Xiu said softly, accepting the tea from Jiang Peihuan's hand. As Jiang Peihuan was about to respond, a ruckus erupted outside, filled with the clatter of fighting and heated arguments. They would have dismissed it, but Jiang Songbei's name caught their attention. They didn't care at first, but they heard Jiang Songbei's name. Outside the door, Yan Quan glared furiously at a woman shielded by Jiang Songbei. Jiang Songbei, you better stay out of this, or else I won't mind giving you a beating too. Yan Quan, you're crossing a line. She's my cousin, and you dare to humiliate her in front of me. Do you see me as a pushover? Jiang Songbei fired back. Oh cousin? The Lu family is nothing more than a bunch of merchants, and she is just a merchant's daughter. What makes her so high and mighty? At most, it'll just make her my concubine. You. Upon hearing this, Jiang Songbei's eyes blazed with fury, but the woman behind him held his sleeve. Cousin, let it be. I'm fine. Cousin Xian, don't be scared. I'm here today, and I won't let anyone bully you, assured Jiang Songbei, before launching a kick at Yan Quan. Yan Quan, who was already 20 and had over a decade of martial arts training, clearly held an upper hand against Jiang Songbei, whose martial arts experience was relatively brief. When Jiang Peihuan pushed open the door, she found Yan Quan pinning Jiang Songbei to the ground, relentlessly raining punches onto his face. Despite the assault, Jiang Songbei refused to cry out in pain. He gritted his teeth, waiting for the right moment. When Yan Quan was momentarily distracted, Jiang Songbei seized the opportunity, kicked Yan Quan off him, and quickly gained the upper hand. However, Yan Quan had a trick up his sleeve. He swiftly pulled out his dagger. Witnessing this dangerous turn, Lu Xian couldn't contain a shriek. Songbai, watch out! Fortunately, the dagger didn't find its way to Jiang Songbai. Jiang Peihuan had reacted promptly, pulling out the long whip fastened to her waist, and skillfully ensnaring Yin Quan's wrist. With a firm tug, Yin Quan found himself crashing to the ground. Elder sister? Jiang Songbai, surprised and relieved, locked eyes with his savior. Did you get hurt? Jiang Peihuan asked in a soft voice, examining Jiang Songbai for injuries. Jiang Songbai shook his head. I'm all right. Enraged, Yin Quan glared at Jiang Songbai, his words seething with contempt. Are you even a man, relying on a woman to fight your battles? Jiang Peihuan fired back sharply. Master Yin, you are 8 years older than my brother. Is it a mark of a gentleman to bully those younger than you? It's Jiang Songbei's fault for poking his nose where it doesn't belong. Even so, do you have the right to humiliate my cousin publicly? Yin Quan, you're nothing but a coward. Jiang Songbai, repeat that and I swear ill. Yin Quan's threat got cut off mid-sentence when a sudden sharp pain shot through his mouth. He clutched his mouth, and when he pulled his hand back, it held 2 of his teeth. You! Yin Quan glowered at Jiang Peihuan, his eyes dark with malice. If you think you can lay a hand on my brother, you're mistaken. I won't hesitate to take you down first. Chapter 75. Mentioning the past whip in hand, Jiang Sihuan pointed at Yin Quan. Her eyes brimmed with fierce hostility, making Yin Quan shudder. Yet, the moment he realized his fear of a woman, a mix of shame and irritation filled his eyes. The power in Peihuan's whip had made an impression on him. No longer daring to provoke Jiang Sihuan, he cast a scornful glance at Jiang Songbai. Hiding behind a woman? What kind of man does that? I will remember what happened today. Yin Quan, will definitely get back at you. With those words, he made a swift exit, bumping into a young waiter on his way down the stairs. The waiter, carrying a tray of food, lost his balance, and the dishes spilled over Yin Quan. Seeing his stained clothes, Yin Quan was angered. He kicked the waiter, sending him rolling down the stairs. The waiter's head was bleeding on the spot, but he didn't dare to say anything. Looking up into Yin Quan's icy stare, he quickly apologized. I'm sorry, Master Yin, I didn't mean to. You blind mutt. Before the waiter could finish, Yin Quan kicked him again. Watching from upstairs, Jiang Songbai instinctively moved to intervene, only to be stopped by Jiang Sihuan. Sihuan, noticing his puzzled look, said calmly, You can help him once, but not always. If you step in, Yin Quan will only target him more. Downstairs, Yin Quan's anger subsided slightly seeing the bloodied waiter. He shot a cold glance at Jiang Sihuan and the others upstairs before striding away from the Pines and Cranes pavilion. Despite the waiter being covered in blood, his injuries were superficial. Jiang Sihuan sighed in relief. She could have intervened, but that could have made things worse for the waiter. Once the waiter was back on his feet, Peihuan turned to Lu Xian and asked softly, Miss Lu, are you all right? After the waiter stood up, Jian Peihuan turned to Lu Xian and asked softly, Miss Lu, are you all right? Lu Xian, still shaken, managed to smile when she heard Jiang Peihuan's voice. She bowed and said, Thank you for today, eldest Mississippi. There's no need for formalities, Miss Lu, Jiang Peihuan replied. You're Songbei's cousin and my aunt's niece. You don't need to address me like a stranger. This year I turned 17, making me a year younger than you. If you don't mind, may I call you Sister Jiang from now on? Of course. In her past life, Jiang Peihuan hadn't had much interaction with Lu Xian, yet the few times their gazes met, she was able to perceive the clear, sincere eyes and candid demeanor of Lu Xian, signaling her virtuous character. Upon seeing Jiang Peihuan's nod of acknowledgement, a smile flickered in Lu Xin's eyes. She continued, If that's the case, Sister Jiang, there's no need for formalities. Call me Xian heir, like Aunt does. Sure. My mother and third aunt are in the private room. Xian heir, you and Songbai should join us, Jiang Peihuan proposed, to which she got a nod from Lu Xian. Subsequently, Jiang Peihuan escorted both of them into the private room. The clamor from outside was quite audible within the private room. However, if Shui Yin and Lu Xiao stepped out, the situation would be different. Hence Jiang Peihuan decided to go out on her own. Xian heir, how are you doing? Are you hurt anywhere? Asked Lu Xiu, worry clouding her eyes. Even though she was aware that with Jiang Peihuan present, Lu Xian wouldn't be easily disadvantaged, she's still concerned about her safety. As Lu Xian entered the room, Lu Xiu quickly took her hand. The Lu family was prospering, but there were hardly any girls. In Lu Xiu's generation, she was the only one, hence she had 4 older brothers looking out for her. By the time Lu Xin's generation arrived, the number of girls in the Lu family had increased, but Lu Xian was the only legitimate child. Lu Xiu had only one son, Jiang Songbai, and she always treated Lu Xian, her niece, like her own daughter. Seeing Lu Xiu's eyes filled with worry, Lu Xian quickly reassured her. Aunt, you need not worry, I'm perfectly fine. Having comforted Lu Xiu, Lu Xian turned her attention to Shui Yan and respectfully greeted her. Madam, Xian heir pays her respects. Rise, dear, replied Shui Yan. Having been through many battles, she was seasoned at reading people. Seeing the transparency in Lu Xin's eyes, she smiled and nodded, then softly added, we're all family here. There's no need for formal titles. Like Changbai, you can call me Auntie. Yes, Auntie. Today is our first meeting. I'm not fond of wearing jewelry, but this bracelet was something I used to wear in my younger days. It isn't particularly valuable, but I'd like you to have it as a welcoming gift. While speaking, Shui Yan removed a bracelet from her wrist. The bracelet was of an average quality, but had an appealing style, adorned with delicate carvings. Lu Xian instinctively glanced at her aunt, who reassured her. This is from your sister-in-law, you should accept it. Seeing her niece's expression, Lu Xiu added with a chuckle. Acknowledging this, Lu Xian extended her hands and graciously accepted the bracelet from Shui Yan. Thank you, Auntie. Sister Xian heir, how did you end up coming to the Pine and Crane Pavilion with second brother today? And even running into that Yin Quan? Jiang Xijin asked once everyone had settled down. Being about the same age as Jiang Songbai, Jiang Xijin often hung out with him, hence, she had seen Lu Xian a few times. Lu Xian briefly explained what had happened in response to Xijin's curiosity. From her explanation, Jiang Peihuan was able to fully grasp the situation. Lu Xian had stepped out today mainly to inspect the performance of her family's store. Given her family's worry about her being alone, Lu Xin's father had suggested that Jiang Songbai accompany her, as Lu Xin's brothers were already familiar faces at the store. Being Lu Xiu's only son, Jiang Songbai was cherished by his uncles from the Lu family, resulting in a warm relationship between him and the Lu family. Upon receiving the letter from his uncle, Jiang Songbai had promptly made his way to the Lu family. All had gone as planned until Lu Xian, not wanting Jiang Songbai to return home hungry, had brought him to the Pine and Crane Pavilion. They had intended to part ways after their meal, only to unexpectedly cross paths with Yin Quan. What happened after that was exactly what you saw, Sister Jiang. This Yin Quan is nothing more than a domineering bully. Jiang Xijin fumed after hearing Lu Xin's story. His sister was the cause of eldest sister falling into the water last time, and today he dared to harass Sister Xian heir. The next time I see him, I swear I'll teach him a proper lesson. Jiang Xijin heard Lu Xin's words. Her eyes were filled with anger. At this, Shui Yan looked at Jiang Peihuan thoughtfully. Huan heir, was your previous fall into the water connected to Yan's second miss? Feeling everyone's gaze upon her, Jiang Peihuan responded calmly. I had fainted by then, so I'm not entirely sure. She was well aware of the truth. Her fall was indeed related to Yin Xian, but Yin Xian had been acting under someone else's instructions. The only one with eldest sister at that time was Yin family's second Mississippi. If not her, who else could it have been? Chapter 76. Sending Lu Xian home. Jiang Xijin was firm in her belief. The first time she laid eyes on Yin Xian, she got the feeling that she was not a trustworthy person. However, her older sister had always considered Yin Xian a close friend. Seeing the wrath in Jiang Xijin's eyes, Jiang Peihuan chuckled lightly. If we don't have any evidence, voicing such suspicions will only stir up gossip. So let's not bring it up again. Since you're not fond of second Miss Yen, I'll distance myself from her in the future. Are you serious, eldest sister? Of course. Hearing this, Jiang Xijin was elated. There was a knock on the private room's door. The previously injured waiter walked in, his wound now tended to. With careful precision, he set the food on the table and apologized. Ladies, I deeply regret spilling the food earlier. Here is a freshly prepared meal. I'm sorry for making you wait. It's fine, responded Shui Yan. Being aware of the incident that had just transpired outside, she was not bothered by the waiter's admission. Seeing the group's lack of blame, the waiter breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, Jiang Peihuan extended a piece of gold to the waiter. Keep the change. Use the remainder as a tip for yourself. Once the restaurant closes, find a doctor to examine your injuries. Thank you, Mississippi. Initially, the waiter was somewhat disheartened. He felt unfortunate for being kicked around undeservedly and having to cover the cost of the spilt meal. However, seeing the gold in Jiang Peihuan's hand instantly dissolved his gloom. All right, let's start eating. After we finish Songbai, you'll escort Xinair home. Third aunt, I'm worried that the Yin family might stir up trouble again. Perhaps, Songbai and I should accompany Xinair home later, suggested Jiang Peihuan. Upon hearing this, Lu Xiu showed a hint of worry. This incident was initiated by the rudeness of young Master Yen. Are they still planning to harass Xinair? Seeing the concern in Lu Xiu's eyes, Jiang Peihuan softly replied, It's just a guess on my part. However, being cautious never hurts. I want to come too, eldest sister. Jiang Xijin quickly interjected. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan didn't respond but glanced at Shui Yan. Suddenly, Jiang Xijin tugged at Shui Yan's sleeve. Mother, please let me accompany eldest sister. You may go, but behave yourself. Stick with your sister. Don't worry, mother. I'll follow eldest sister's lead. Half an hour later, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Xijin climbed into Lu Xin's carriage. Jiang Songbai rode alongside them on horseback. The journey was very peaceful and nothing happened. Jiang Peihuan simply thought she might be overthinking things. As their carriage pulled up at the entrance of the Lu mansion, Lu Xian turned towards Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Xijin with a smile. Sister Jiang Xijin, please join me in my home. Jiang Xijin remained silent, looking towards her sister for guidance. Meeting Lu Xin's eyes, Jiang Peihuan laughed softly. It's quite late today, so I won't disturb you. Maybe on another day Young miss. Jiang Peihuan's words were abruptly cut off when she noticed a middle-aged man hurrying towards them, panic written all over his face. Seeing this man, Lu Xin's expression changed slightly. Uncle Lu, what's the matter? Miss, the eldest young master has been injured by someone from the Yin family. The old master is still outside the city. The eldest young master instructed me to wait at the gate, and upon seeing you, to suggest you to spend the night at your aunt's place. Big brother is hurt. Is he severely injured? Worry filled Lu Xin's eyes. She was about to head inside when she realized that Jiang Peihuan and the others were still present. She quickly turned back. Sister Jiang, I can't entertain you today. I'll make it up to you another time. With that said, Lu Xian hurriedly walked in. The steward Uncle Lu looked equally worried. Upon witnessing this, Jiang Peihuan knew she could stand by and watch. She quickly halted Lu Xian. I'll go in with you. Sister Jiang, you've already done so much for me today. If you go further, don't fret. Regardless of whether it involves you or not, I cannot ignore such an incident. Let's go inside. At least we should wait until Uncle Lu returns. All right, then I'm sorry to trouble you, Sister Jiang. Jiang Songbai instinctively tried to follow them, but Jiang Peihuan held his hand. Elder sister? Facing his puzzled gaze, Jiang Peihuan whispered, You don't need to join us. Go back to the house. Tell third uncle about this situation, and ask him to come here. And also send someone to inform Uncle Lu outside the city. Understood, elder sister. Cousin Xinair, don't worry. I'll immediately go back and bring father here. Jiang Songbai assured the worried Lu Xian as he prepared to mount his horse. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's plan, Lu Xian let out a sigh of relief. Although the Lu family was wealthy, they were merchants. Going against the Yin family would certainly put them at a disadvantage. However, with her uncle's arrival, they wouldn't be without support. Let's go in. As she started speaking, Jiang Peihuan was the first to step inside. Just upon reaching the entrance to the main hall, she heard a barrage of insults from inside. The harsh words were from none other than Yin Quan, and another all too familiar voice. Lu Hao, you're being too disrespectful. Believe it or not, I can cripple you right now. Lu Hao, Lu Xin's older brother, was the eldest grandson of the Lu family. Yin Quan and his men had Lu Hao pinned to the ground. Yin Quan's foot was forcefully pressing on the back of Lu Hao's hand, a cruel grin on his face. Pain filled Lu Hao's eyes, blood smeared the corner of his mouth, but he bore it silently. Yin Xian, seated comfortably on a chair nearby, watched the scene unfold with a disdainful sneer. Your Lu family is nothing more than a bunch of traitors. It's her blessing that my brother even fancies her, Lu Xian. The mention of Lu Xian sparked clear disgust in Yin Xin's eyes. She hated Lu Xian, not for any other reason, but the fact that a mere merchant's daughter dared to share the same name as her. The thought alone was repugnant to Yin Xian. You dream of humiliating my sister? Even if you were to kill me, I would never let you have her. Heh, you really don't know your place. At those words, Yin Quan chuckled coldly, his eyes clouding with malice. Well then, don't blame me for not being polite. I've heard you're quite the business whiz. I wonder, can you still work your magic if I ruin your hands? As soon as he finished his threat, Yin Quan applied even more pressure on Lu Hao's hand. The increased pain was too much for Lu Hao, causing him to cry out in agony. But the torment was cut short when Yin Quan, still standing on Lu Hao's hand, was abruptly knocked to the ground. Jiang Peihuan, with a swift motion, loosened the whip entwined around Yin Quan's ankle. Rushing to Lu Hao's aid, Lu Xian helped him up from the floor. Big brother, how are you? Is it very painful? Xian heir, didn't I ask you to go to our aunt's place? Why did you come here? Seeing his sister, Lu Hao's expression softened significantly, only to grow stern once again. Chapter 77. Jiang Ren arrives. Big brother, it was Sister Jiang and Xijin who brought me here. Upon hearing this, Lu Hao cast his gaze towards Jiang Sehuan and Jiang Xijin. Jiang Peihuan, you again? Yin Quan managed to lift himself off the ground, his gaze on Jiang Peihuan simmering with rage. Compared to Yin Quan, Jiang Peihuan bore an air of cool indifference. She methodically coiled up her long whip, her eyes as frosty as ice. Seems like the last lash didn't serve as a sufficient reminder, she declared. You. The sight of his whip marks only served to remind Yin Quan of his pain. He couldn't help but flinch at Jiang Peihuan's words, feeling the sting in his mouth all over again. Yin Xian, standing aside, was puzzled by Jiang Peihuan's frosty demeanor. Nevertheless, she mustered the courage to step forward. Jiang Peihuan, what is the meaning of this? Why did you strike my brother? You. As she spoke, Yin Xian reached out to hold Jiang Peihuan's hand as before. But before her hand could make contact, Jiang Peihuan swiftly moved away. Caught by surprise, Yin Xin's hand hung awkwardly midair. This unexpected move left Yin Xian visibly stunned. Confusion swirled in her eyes, but Jiang Xijin was visibly delighted by the spectacle. Jiang Xijin approached Jiang Peihuan and said mockingly to Yin Xian, my elder sister has seen through your pretense. She will not associate with you in the future. So, stop trying to ingratiate yourself with her. Peihuan, you. I hardly know you. Henceforth, you should address me as Miss Jiang. Before Yin Xian could reply, Jiang Sehuan cut her off with a disinterested tone. Jiang Xijin, on hearing this, almost doubled over in laughter. She strutted around triumphantly like a rooster returning from battle. Gleefully she chimed in. Miss Yin, did you hear my sister? From now on, refer to her as eldest Miss Jiang. Humph, what's so extraordinary? Your Jiang family has already surrendered the commander seal. You think I value that? With a disdainful snort, Yin Xian retreated a couple of steps. Her eyes dark and brooding, she glared at Jiang Sehuan and retorted coldly. Jiang Peihuan, are you certain you want to protect the Lu family? They carry the surname Lu, sharing no connection whatsoever with your Jiang family. Jiang Peihuan merely looked at Yin Xian with indifference, as though she hadn't heard her words at all. Observing Jiang Paihuan's reaction, Yin Xian felt an odd sensation stirring within her. However, her annoyance only grew. Fine, if that's how it is, then I won't hold back. Surveying her allies, Yin Xian ordered. Go, seize Yin Xian. Anyone who dares to interfere, strike them down. Hearing this, the faces of the Lu siblings shifted. Jiang Peihuan furrowed her brow. Just as she prepared to act, a voice echoed. I'd like to see who dares. Uncle. Seeing the striding figure of Jiang Ren, Lu Hao and Lu Xian brightened and swiftly called out to him. Third uncle. Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Xijin also softly called out. Jiang Ren nodded to Jiang Sihuan and Jiang Xijin, then turned to the Lu siblings. Aren't you guys alright? Big brother's been hurt, but I'm okay. At Lu Xin's words, Lu Hao quickly stepped forward, respectfully addressing Jiang Ren. Uncle, I've caused you trouble today. You boy, why didn't you inform me about this mess? Were it not for Songbai calling me, you wouldn't have thought to mention it, would you? It's my fault. Seeing the look in Lu Hao's eyes, a hint of helplessness crossed Jiang Ren's face. He was close with Lu Xiao, and though the Lu family was a merchant class, he had never belittled them. However, the Lu family from top to bottom avoided troubling Lu Xiao, hence they never reached out to him when issues arose. This left Jiang Ren both pleased and concerned. Third uncle, please handle this matter. At this point, Jiang Peihuan addressed Jiang Ren. Upon hearing his niece's words, Jiang Ren nodded in agreement. Next, Jiang Peihuan, holding Jiang Xijin's hand, moved aside. Upon Jiang Ren's appearance, Yin Xian and Yen Quan displayed a flash of panic. Yet Yin Xian disdainfully retorted, Lord Jiang, my father's rank is above yours, you. Silence. With a cold glare, Jiang Ren cut off Yin Xin's words. Turning to Lu Hao, he said, How heir, come here. Hearing Jiang Ren's words, Lu Hao stepped forward. Jiang Ren carefully examined Lu Hao, noting his numerous injuries, particularly his hands, which were a swollen red. Jiang Ren had heard from his wife that Lu Hao was the most talented businessman in the Lu family. Tell me who injured you? Uncle. Speak. Seeing the stern look on Jiang Ren's face, Lu Hao pointed to Yin Quan and a few of his attendants. Looking at the people Lu Hao indicated, Jiang Ren coldly pronounced, Will you surrender willingly, or shall I take action? The attendants, who found themselves under Jiang Ren's chilling stare, were filled with fear, instinctively turning their eyes towards Yin Quan for guidance. Lord Jiang, what are you planning? Yin Quan's words were abruptly cut off by a piercing pain in his wrist, coming to the realization that Jiang Ren had firmly grasped it. Jiang Ren's actions were so swift and precise that no one caught sight of them. All they heard was a clear, crisp sound, followed by Yin Quan's agonizing scream. The sound of Yin Quan's distress cry left everyone in the hall frozen in shock, including Jiang Peihuan. However, she believed that her third uncle was never an impulsive person. You dare to break my brother's hand? Yin Xian looked at Jiang Ren, trembling. In response to her, Jiang Ren's eyes were seething with a dangerous fury as he retorted. So you think it's acceptable to cripple others' hands, but it's outrageous when the same is done to you? If that's the case, it'll help young Master Yin reattach it. As he spoke, Jiang Ren lifted Yin Quan's wrist, gave it a gentle nudge, and remarkably, Yin Quan's hand seemed to return to normal. Yet, Yin Quan was in such immense pain that he couldn't muster the strength to scream. Before he could react, Jiang Ren seized his other wrist, and using the same technique he snapped it as well. The agonizing shriek that followed reverberated throughout the grand hall. Jiang Xijin discreetly tugged at Jiang Paihuan's sleeve, whispering in a low tone. Big sister, I've always thought our third uncle was a gentle man, but now, I don't think so anymore. Upon hearing Jiang Xijin's comment, a faint smile crossed Jiang Paihuan's face. Among the warriors, Jiang Ren was indeed known for his mild-mannered nature. However, even the most amiable individuals, after years spent on a battlefield, couldn't help but harbor some hostility. Their third uncle, she thought, was managing quite well, all things considered. What, you didn't hear my words just now? Holding on to Yin Quan's wrist, Jiang Ren cast a frosty gaze upon his servants. At his icy words, the servants hurriedly fell to their knees. Please have mercy, sir, we were merely following orders. Sir, we prostrate ourselves before you in apology. Please spare us. As they spoke, the men hastily bowed their heads towards Jiang Run. However, Jiang Run replied coldly, "The person you harmed wasn't me. Can't you distinguish who you should be apologizing to? Master Lu, we were at fault. Please forgive us." Chapter 78. Xiao Nani arrives to send dowry. Looking at the servants continually kowtowing before him, Lu Hao's eyes were brimming with rage. Yet, when he noticed their heads bleeding from the repeated knocks, he spoke up in a cold voice. "Enough." He shifted his gaze away from the servant and directed his fiery eyes towards Yin Quan. "Although we, the Lu family, are merchants, we're not to be trampled on. The idea of my sister becoming your concubine is utterly impossible. Today it was your Yin family that initiated this provocation. If you harbor resentment in the future, feel free to seek me, Lu Hao." Listening to Lu Hao, Yin Quan's eyes were filled with disdain. However, waves of pain radiated from his hand. Seeing his expression, Jiang Ren's already dark face clouded even further. He tightened his grip and questioned, "Oh, so you started the fight, and now you fear retribution?" No, Lord Jiang, you've misunderstood. I promise, we won't bother the Lu family again." Cold sweat dripped down Yin Quan's forehead, clearly a result of the pain. Upon witnessing the scene, Yin Xang couldn't hold back and voiced out, "Lord Jiang, my brother has realized his mistake. Please release him." "Yin Quan, remember your words today. If I learn that you're causing trouble for the Lu family in the future, I won't spare you." As he spoke, Jiang Ren forcefully lifted Yin Quan's wrist. Yin Quan screamed again, but the wrist pain vanished instantly. "Take your people and leave." Yin Quan rubbed his sore wrist, then glared at his attendant, speaking in a displeased tone. "Let's go." As he passed the Lu siblings, Yin Quan's gaze swept over Lu Xan, his eyes cold and predatory, akin to a venomous snake stalking its prey. Seeing his chilling gaze, Lu Xan couldn't suppress a shudder. Observing this, Lu Hao swiftly moved to shield his sister. Subsequently, the Yin siblings left the Lu household. "How? You should get a doctor to examine your injuries," Jiang Ren suggested, his eyes on Lu Hao. "It's just a minor injury. I'm fine." "Uncle, Miss Jiang, it's getting late. Why not stay over for the night?" "Thank you, Cousin Lu. However, our mother is still at home waiting. I'll take Sijin back now." Jiang Peihuan stepped forward, whispering. Having only intended it as a polite offer, Lu Hao naturally didn't insist. Noticing the Lu family still in disarray, Jiang Peihuan turned to Jiang Ren. "Third uncle, you should stay. If you decide to stay, I'll go back and inform third aunt." "No, I'll return with both of you." After speaking, Jiang Ren looked at Lu Hao seriously. "If you encounter the likes of the Yin family again, don't just endure. Send someone to the general's mansion to find me. Understood?" "I will remember, uncle. Rest early then." "I'll take them back to our mansion." The Lu siblings approached to show their respects. Jiang Peihuan and the others nodded at them before turning to leave the Lu mansion. "Huan heir, I've put you through some trouble today." It was deep into the night, so instead of galloping, they took a leisurely ride on their horses. Hearing the words beside her, Jiang Peihuan's eyes lit up with a trace of amusement. "Third uncle, you're unusually courteous today, aren't you?" Seeing the smile in her eyes, Jiang Ren couldn't help but join in the laughter. "I'm at fault. I shouldn't be so formal with you, Huan heir. Eldest sister, your martial arts skills have noticeably improved lately." "It's not that I've improved, it's that you've fallen behind. You, a man of the Jiang family, couldn't even defeat a good-for-nothing like Yin Quan. It's an embarrassment." Before Jiang Peihuan could respond, Jiang Ren was already casting a discontented look at Jiang Songbai. At this, Jiang Songbai could only show a look of frustration. However, he was well aware that his father always favored girls over boys, so he didn't dare to talk back. "Starting tomorrow, apart from your studies at the academy, spend all your time at home training. I will personally oversee your practice." "Father, even when you were absent, I didn't neglect my martial arts." "Then you must not have put in enough effort, or else how could you lose to Yin Quan?" Jiang Songbai fell silent. "Father, Yin Quan is several years older than me. Although I didn't defeat him, I didn't lose either." Not winning is the same as losing. Moreover, if it hadn't been for Huan Er's intervention, do you dare say you wouldn't have been at a disadvantage? Alright, he was left speechless. Third uncle, could you teach me the move you used earlier? At this point, Jiang Xijin was gazing at Jiang Run with wide, eager eyes. Jiang Run glanced back at the young girl and queried, "Which move are you referring to? The one where you broke Yin Quan's hand then reattached it. You're just a little girl, and you want to learn to break people's hands? Third uncle, please teach me." Under Jiang Xijin's persuasion, Jiang Run nodded with a smile. Witnessing this scene, a smile filled Jiang Paihuan's eyes. In this life, she was determined to protect her family and loved ones. "Huan Er, you've just started to recover. Rest early." Jiang Run reminded her softly when he sent Jiang Peihuan to the entrance of the plum garden. Seeing the concern in his eyes, Jiang Peihuan nodded and responded with a smile. "I understand, third uncle. You should also go back early. Third aunt must be waiting for you." "Alright, I'll head back to Elegant Garden now." After watching Jiang Run disappear around the corner, Jiang Peihuan turned and headed inside. She dismissed her maid to rest, and then pushed open the door of her room. "When did you get here?" She looked at the person sitting at the table sipping tea, her eyes wide with surprise. Had she not recognized the familiar scent of the man, she might have mistaken him for an intruder. Xiao Nani sat quietly at the table without a light, occasionally sipping from his teacup. Had it been anyone else in the middle of the night, she would have been terrified. "I've been waiting for you here for almost 2 hours." Hearing Jiang Paihuan's voice, Xiao Nani responded in a low tone, his voice laced with a hint of grievance. She walked to the table and lit the lamp. In the illumination of the light, she noticed the array of boxes spread out on the table. Not just on the table, the floor was also littered with many more boxes. "What are all these?" As Jiang Paihuan's gaze fell on the table, the man's interest seemed to peak. He rose from his chair, moving to stand beside Jiang Peihuan. He smiled and said, "These are the dowry I prepared for you." "Dowry? Do you mean betrothal gifts, Your Highness?" "I didn't misspeak. It's a dowry." As he spoke, he selected a black wooden box from the table and passed it to her. Seeing him single out this box, Jiang Paihuan's curiosity was piqued. Xiao Nani directly opened the box, revealing that it was filled with large denomination banknotes. Chapter 79. "Call me husband." He stuffed the box into Jian Paihuan's hands and said with a smile, "Huan Er, this is all the silver I've saved up over the years. I'll give it all to you as your dowry." A quick glance told her there were several million taels of silver. Surprise flashed across Jiang Paihuan's eyes, yet she set the box back on the table. "Your Highness, I can't accept this." "Why not? My dowry will be prepared by the Jiang family. Moreover, there is no reason for the groom's family to prepare dowry. What Your Highness should prepare is the betrothal gift. My imperial brother will handle your betrothal gifts. I want this to be your dowry." He placed the box back into her hands. Before she could voice a protest, Xiao Nani interjected, "Huan Er, my heart is already yours. These worldly possessions are nothing to me. They can't even compare to a single strand of your hair. When you marry into the Cheng mansion, I would have to give these to you anyway. I'm just giving them to you ahead of time. So will you accept them?" There was a hint of affection mixed with amusement in his eyes. Jiang Peihuan could clearly see his sincerity. After a pause she nodded. "Alright, I'll accept it. However, it's late. Shouldn't Your Highness?" "Huan Er, we're soon to be husband and wife. Shouldn't you change how you address me? I don't want you to use formalities with me." You would feel distant if she did. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan seemed troubled. After a moment of thought, she looked at him and asked, "So, how do Your Highness wish to be addressed? If I tell you how to address me, will you do it?" A smile suddenly flashed across the man's eyes. For some reason, when she saw the smile in Xiao Nani's eyes, she suddenly had a bad feeling. Just as she expected. "Why don't you try calling me husband? Does Your Highness genuinely want to hear that?" Xiao Nani just wanted to tease Jiang Peihuan. In his memory, she always seemed to be calm and steady. Yet when he heard her response, he couldn't hide his anticipation. "May I?" he asked instinctively. "Of course you may not." Before Xiao Nani could react, A cold gust of wind blew across his face. He stepped back instinctively, and before he knew it, he was outside, with the door firmly shut behind him. Jiang Paihuan's voice floated from inside the room. "It's late. Your Highness, you should go back and rest." The lights went out and Xiao Nani could only watch her delicate silhouette fade into the darkness. Although he was chased out, Xiao Nani's eyes revealed a smile. Han Feng, who had descended from the tree, saw Xiao Nani's expression. Flicker of doubt crossed his eyes. Despite being chased out, his master seemed oddly content. The young miss must have cast a spell on him. "Master, shouldn't we leave now?" Xiao Nani had been able to sit inside Jiang Paihuan's room. In contrast, Han Feng had spent hours sitting on a tree, and his back was sore. "Let's go." With a soft affirmation, Xiao Nani sprang into action and disappeared into the night. Inside the house, Jiang Peihuan listened to the fading footsteps, a smile gracing her eyes. She safely stowed the box in her hand and laid quietly upon the bed. The next morning, to Jiang Paihuan's surprise, she found herself waking up half an hour later than usual. Sitting up, her gaze was immediately drawn to the boxes on the table. She hadn't had the chance to examine their contents last night, but now a spark of interest ignited in her. Seating herself at the table, Jiang Peihuan nonchalantly opened one of the boxes, revealing a pink pearl necklace. As she proceeded to open the rest, each contained a rare piece of jewelry. Even for someone like Jiang Peihuan, who had seen plenty of fine things since childhood, the array of jewels before her was stunning. "Young miss." The voice of Yu Er drifted in from outside the door. "Come in," Jiang Peihuan replied, prompting Yu Er to push the door open. Upon entering, Yu Er almost tripped over a box. "Miss, where did all these jewels come from?" Jiang Paihuan's belongings were primarily organized by Yu Er, so she immediately noticed these pieces of jewelry weren't Jiang Paihuan's. "It was sent by King Cheng." "King Cheng? Is this the betrothal gift from His Highness?" Yu Er subconsciously spoke, but Jiang Peihuan gently shook her head. "No, it's a dowry." "What? Dowry?" Had Yu Er not been confident in her hearing, she would have doubted what she'd just heard. Jiang Peihuan nodded, then told Yu Er. "You and Lu Er arranged these items. We'll take them to Mother shortly." "Yes, young Mississippi." Following a soothing cup of tea, Jiang Peihuan found herself at Shui Yan's residence, Yin Lin. Upon seeing Jiang Peihuan, Shui Yan beamed brightly. "You're a bit late today. Did yesterday's shopping tire you out?" After offering her respects to Shui Yan, Jiang Peihuan softly responded, "No, I just stayed up a bit late last night." "Well, if you're up late, sleep in. No need to visit me so early." "Mother, I came to discuss something with you." "What is it, my dear?" After a brief summary of last night's events, Jiang Peihuan continued, "I've accepted the jewelry already. Therefore, Mother, there's no need for you to prepare any additional dowry jewels." Upon hearing Jiang Paihuan's words, Shui Yan showed a flicker of surprise, soon replaced by a warm smile. "I must admit, I had my concerns about your marriage to King Cheng, but now, I find myself reassured. Huan Er, in my opinion, King Cheng truly cares for you. That's why Huan Er, I accepted these items." "Very well. If that's the case, I won't arrange for any more jewelry. Instead, I'll convert the remaining silver into properties and farmlands for you." "Thank you, Mother." Jiang Peihuan did not object to Shui Yan's plan. The man she was to marry was King Cheng, a man of paramount status, thus her dowry mustn't appear modest. This wasn't merely about maintaining Xiao Nani's dignity, but also the honor of the Jiang family. This concerned not only Xiao Nani's reputation, but also the Jiang family's reputation. "Miss Lan Er is here." While Jiang Peihuan was conversing with Shui Yan, Yu Er approached her and spoke in a hushed voice. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan's eyebrows furrowed in confusion. "What brings her here?" Lan Er was Jiang Rian's maid. She didn't mention anything specific, only requested to see you, Mississippi. "Let her in." After a brief contemplation, Jiang Peihuan instructed softly. Shortly after, Lan Er entered. As soon as Lan Er saw Jiang Peihuan, she immediately knelt on the ground. "Miss, I beg for your help. If there's an issue, stand up first, and then we can talk." "Yes." Lan Er rose from the ground and looked at Jiang Peihuan. Miss, could you accompany me to the orchid garden? Did something happen to Ruyin? It's not second young lady, it's the second master. Chapter 80. Jianmei entering the mansion's second master? Arriving at the entrance of the orchid garden, Jiang Sihuan turned to Lan Er, querying her. However, the answer she got left her momentarily stunned. From Lan Er's narration, Jiang Peihuan finally grasped the whole situation. After a fierce argument with Zhou Rongfang, Jiang Yuan had left home and didn't return all night. When he did come back in the morning, he was accompanied by a woman. Upon seeing this woman, Zhou Rongfang had lunged forward to strike her, but Jiang Yuan intervened. In the ensuing altercation, Jiang Ruyin was accidentally hit by Jiang Yuan. After piecing together all the events, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but furrow her brows. Although Jiang Yuan was a man of old-fashioned views, he was not the type to be easily swayed by feminine charms. Lan Er, what's the identity of this woman? I heard she's a lady from a respectable family. How could a decent lady have any issues with the second master? Hearing this, Yu Er, who was following beside Jiang Peihuan, couldn't help but interject. Lan Er, however, stayed silent as they had already arrived at the orchid garden. Miss, the eldest miss is here. Jiang Ruyin was laying in bed. On hearing the voices, she struggled to sit up. Upon seeing the wound on her forehead, Jiang Peihuan frowned. The white gauze was stained with traces of fresh blood. Did second uncle cause this injury? Father didn't mean to. When I stepped in to intervene, he pushed me away, and I accidentally knocked into a chair. The severity of the injuries clearly indicated the force Jiang Yuan had applied. Eldest sister, you must have heard from Lan Er about the dispute between my father and mother. Hearing Jiang Ruyin's words, Jiang Peihuan nodded in agreement. Looking at the person on the bed, she softly asked, So, you called me here to dissuade second uncle from marrying that woman? Jiang Ruyin nodded, then said in a low voice, Eldest sister, my mother might have a temper, but her love for me is genuine. She deeply cares for father as well. If father brings that woman into our home, it will undoubtedly devastate mother. But you must understand, this is second uncle's personal matter. Even I, or even grandmother, can't stop him if he's resolute. If that woman's background was dubious, we could use that to our advantage. But from what I understand, she's a lady from a good family. Elder sister, is there really no other way? I know you're wise. Please help me this time. Jiang Ruyin's eyes were filled with desperation, pleadingly looking at Jiang Peihuan. At this moment, Jiang Ruyin no longer had the arrogance from before. After a brief silence, Jiang Peihuan took a seat beside the bed. Then she asked Jiang Ruyin, How did second uncle come across this woman? After father and mother had their argument, Uncle Meng suddenly sought out father. By the time father returned, that woman was by his side. Uncle Meng came looking for second uncle? Upon seeing Jiang Ruyin's confirmation, Jiang Peihuan's eyes clouded, a look of unease taking over her face. She hadn't expected Meng Yi to be involved in this mess. Even though she had informed Jiang Hong about Meng Yi poisoning Jiang Changbai, there wasn't any concrete evidence. As a result, Jiang Hong maintained caution towards Meng Yi, but hadn't distanced himself yet. Considering the person pulling strings behind Meng Yi, a wave of cold hostility flickered in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. She felt that this matter was not that simple. Second Miss Jian has arrived. What's her purpose here? Tell her to leave. Lan Er entered the room abruptly, but upon hearing these words, Jiang Ruyin's eyes seethed with rage. Seeing her reaction, Jiang Peihuan gently asked, Is this Miss Jian the person second uncle brought back? Yes. Lan Er, please invite her in. This. Lan Er subconsciously looked at Jiang Ruyin. Jiang Ruyin's eyes were filled with confusion. Elder sister, I don't want to see her. No matter what, we should treat our guests with courtesy. Given that Miss Jian was brought here by second uncle, she could be considered your elder. If you dismiss her without a meeting, word might reach second uncle and cause unnecessary trouble. Therefore, let's hear what she has to say. All right then, invite her in. Understood. Moments later, Lan Er re-entered the room, accompanied by a woman in white. The woman seemed to be in her early 20s. Though not exceptionally beautiful, she exuded a gentle and scholarly aura. Upon seeing Jianmei, Jiang Peihuan immediately understood why her second uncle had brought her back. This woman's demeanor held a powerful allure for men like Jiang Yuan. "Greetings, eldest Miss and second Mississippi." Upon entering, Jianmei immediately bowed to Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyun. Hearing her address, Jiang Peihuan's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "How did you figure out my identity, Miss Jian? I've heard that there are 3 young misses in this mansion. However, since the third miss is still quite young, I assumed you must be the eldest miss." Jianmei's voice matched her personality, incredibly gentle and soft. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan chuckled. "Miss Jian, you're quite sharp. It's no surprise that my second uncle brought you here." "You flatter me." Eldest Mississippi Lord Jiang merely saw my lonely situation and took pity on me, offering me a place to reside. "If it's just a shelter you need, the Jiang mansion has several properties available. Perhaps I can arrange one for you, Miss Jian." My second uncle, being a man of simplicity, overlooked the fact that a lattice reputation must remain untainted. This way, we can avoid any misunderstandings within the residence. What do you think, Miss Jian? "Eldest Miss, are you trying to chase me out of the mansion?" Jianmei, who appeared calm and gentle just moments ago, abruptly shifted her demeanor upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words. Jiang Ruyun, who was sitting on the bed, was stunned when he saw this scene. Since Jianmei's arrival at the mansion, she had always maintained a serene disposition. Jiang Ruyun had assumed she was incapable of getting angry. "Miss Jian, you must be kidding," retorted Jiang Peihuan. Ignoring the blatant fury in Jianmei's eyes, Jiang Peihuan offered a light-hearted smile. However, her eyes were devoid of any amusement. Instead, they were brimming with a cool indifference. "Even if you were a common visitor, not to mention a guest my second uncle brought, I wouldn't utter words of sending you away. You mentioned wanting a secure place to stay, prompting me to suggest this solution. Since you are looking for safety, I presumed it doesn't necessarily have to be within the general's mansion. Unless, of course, your idea of safety means being at my second uncle's side? I am not a dishonorable person, nor do I need to cling to Lord Jiang. It was Lord Jiang himself who vowed to take responsibility for me. If the 2 young misses are displeased with my presence, then I will take my leave." The moment she finished speaking, Jianmei dashed out, her eyes welling up with tears. Watching her receding figure, surprise flickered in Jiang Peihuan's eyes, but it was quickly replaced with understanding. She knew who this melodrama was intended for. "Mei Er, what's wrong with you?" Staring at the teary-eyed Jianmei, Jiang Yuan looked puzzled. Seeing him, Jiang Mei's tears flowed more freely, yet she managed to smile. "Lord Jiang, I am all right. It's all my fault. I upset the 2 young misses. Please, don't have any disputes with the second young miss because of me." Chapter 81. Jiang Peihuan's probing. Originally, Jiang Yuan maintained a serene expression. But after hearing Jianmei's loaded words, evident anger flashed in his eyes. He turned and entered Jiang Ruyun's room. However, he paused, surprised to see Jiang Peihuan there. "Huan Er, you're here too?" "Second uncle," replied Jiang Peihuan, performing a polite bow. If she previously harbored any doubts about Jianmei, the words just spoken solidified her suspicion. This woman had hidden intentions. "Yan Er, how could you behave so arrogantly and disrespectfully? Isn't this against the manners I've taught you?" Jiang Yuan scolded his daughter, his eyes full of disappointment as he stood beside her bed. Jiang Peihuan was stunned hearing these reprimands. Jiang Ruyun was Jiang Yuan's only daughter, and he had always showered her with affection, both in his previous and current life. Now it appeared he was even willing to scold his own daughter over another woman. While Jiang Peihuan was shocked, Jiang Ruyun was utterly frozen in disbelief. Her eyes welled up and turned red as she stared at her father, her face pale as she questioned, "Father, are you ignoring your own daughter for her sake?" Jiang Ruyun's eyes were filled with accusation. Initially, seeing her injury, Jiang Yuan felt a pang of regret. But her words brought his simmering anger back to the surface. "Second uncle, I think there's been a misunderstanding," interjected Jiang Peihuan. aiming to prevent any further harsh words from Jiang Yuan. Hearing her, Jiang Yuan turned his gaze toward her. A misunderstanding? Yes, it's a misunderstanding. Lord Jiang, you don't need to blame Second Mississippi. I am at fault here. I shouldn't have disturbed Second Miss, it's all. Miss Jian, may I speak with my second uncle first? Interrupted Jiang Peihuan with a polite smile, seeing Jiang Mei was eager to explain herself. Despite her courteous smile, Jiang Peihuan's eyes held not a trace of mirth, but only cold indifference. Meeting Jian Peihuan's eyes, Jian Mei's heart skipped a beat. Then, she silently stood aside, putting on a fearful and aggrieved look. Seeing her in this state, a hint of mockery flashed in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. She then turned her gaze towards Jiang Yuan and continued. I heard that Ruyan was hurt, so I specifically came to check on her. I had just sat down when I saw Miss Jian hurrying in. Ruyan wasn't feeling well, and I was about to send Miss Jian home, but considering her well-meaning intentions, I let her in. However, no sooner had she entered than she began spouting off vague statements. Second uncle, you can ask the maids in the room. Nobody insulted her, and no one laid a hand on her. Jiang Peihuan spoke softly, her demeanor calm. Upon hearing her words, Jiang Yuan instinctively glanced at Jian Mei. Spotting his furrowed brows, Jian Mei quickly interjected. Lord Jiang, please don't misunderstand. I just wish to maintain a good relationship with the Second Mississippi. After all, we will be family in the future. Family? Earlier in the room, didn't Miss Jian mention that she was only seeking a place to settle down? I was considering offering her a suitable courtyard from the many we have in our residence. What does this idea of family mean? Although her words were addressed to Jian Mei, Jiang Peihuan's gaze rested squarely on Jiang Yuan. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, embarrassment flickered in Jiang Yuan's eyes, but he nonetheless voiced his explanation. I had too much to drink last night and inadvertently offended Miss Jiang, so he had no choice but to bring her to the general's mansion. Even though Jiang Yuan didn't finish his sentence, Jiang Peihuan already understood his implication. Hearing this, a faint smile appeared on Jiang Peihuan's lips. She looked at Jiang Yuan and lightly teased. Second uncle, you've been in the military for many years, yet your tolerance for alcohol remains poor. The alcohol Uncle Meng served last night was too strong. Hearing Meng Yi's name caused Jiang Peihuan's eyebrows to crease. It wasn't likely that the alcohol Meng Yi served was potent, but rather that something was amiss with the drink. If there was an issue with the wine, then there must be a problem with Jian Mei too. But these were just Jiang Peihuan's speculations. Without evidence, she couldn't take action. In that case, second uncle, you should accompany Miss Jian home. I'll stay with Ruyan. Jiang Yuan glanced at Jiang Ruyan, noting the wound on her head. He murmured, rest well. Having said this, he turned and departed, with Jian Mei trailing behind him. Elder sister, why didn't you let me speak earlier? Jiang Ruyan had tried to interject several times, but Jiang Peihuan had gently held her back. Seeing Jiang Yuan and Jian Mei leave, Jiang Ruyan could no longer contain herself. Noticing the anger in her eyes, Jiang Peihuan quietly soothed. I know you're furious right now, but if you genuinely want to help second aunt, you need to stay calm. Jiang Ruyan clenched her fist and took a couple of deep breaths to steady her emotions. Turning to look at Jiang Peihuan, she blurted out, Elder sister, am I really expected to stand by and watch our father bring that woman into our family? Don't rush things. If I'm not mistaken, Miss Jian approaching second uncle likely has ulterior motives. Of course she has ulterior motives. She's clearly attracted to the wealth and honor of our general's mansion, isn't she? Not only that. Upon stealing a glance at Jiang Ruyan, Jiang Peihuan spoke softly. On hearing this, the latter's eyes clouded with confusion. Eldest sister, what do you mean? You don't have to worry about this. When the time comes you'll naturally know. I'm only asking you if you want to help second aunt. Of course. Watching Jiang Ruyan nod firmly, a smile trickled into Jiang Peihuan's eyes. Although Jiang Ruyan had her flaws, her fierce protectiveness of their mother was a commendable trait. Then do as I say. Confronted with Ruyan's puzzled look, Jiang Peihuan beckoned her closer. Leaning in, Jiang Peihuan whispered a few words into her ear. Whatever Jiang Peihuan had said remained a mystery, but upon hearing her words, Jiang Ruyan's eyes brimmed with bewilderment. Eldest sister, you're advising me to maintain a good relationship with that woman. What's the meaning of this? Could it be that you expect me to accept her as father's mistress? I've asked you to befriend her so you can keep a close eye on her, to uncover her reasons for approaching our second uncle. It's the only way to prevent him from welcoming her into our home. Otherwise, how could we, being of younger generations, meddle in the personal matters of our elders? I understand, elder sister. I will do as you say. You have to tell second aunt about this matter. She tends to act impulsively, so do temper her emotions. I understand. Then I'll go back to the plum garden first. If there's anything you need, tell Lon Air to look for me. As she spoke, Jian Peihuan got up from her chair. Elder sister? Hearing the voice, Jian Peihuan turned to look at Jiang Ruyan on the bed. Elder sister, thank you for helping me. Chapter 82. The person behind the scenes. Upon hearing this, a trace of amusement flickered in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. I've always said we as family share honor and disgrace alike. As long as you're a daughter of the Jiang family, I'll always be there for you. Enough now, take some rest. I've got a scar removal ointment at my place. Later, I'll have Lu Air deliver it to you. You're a young woman. Your face shouldn't bear a scar. Thank you, elder sister. Jiang Peihuan nodded and left Orchid Garden. Upon returning to her own abode, Plum Garden, she summoned Yi Xiao into her room. Young miss, you needed me? These days, Jiang Peihuan was mostly staying at the mansion. Yi Xiao, practically bored to death, was thrilled to be called upon. Jiang Peihuan, oblivious to Yi Xiao's eagerness, thought of Jian Mei and ordered quietly. Yi Xiao, I need your help investigating something. What can I assist with? Just command me, miss. Look into Jian Mei's background for me, and find out where my second uncle got drunk last night. Was he genuinely drunk? Jiang Yuan, always in the army, was no light drinker. Not as stout as Jiang Ren perhaps, but not one to get drunk easily either. The master behind Meng Yi was Xiao Juanhao. The mere thought of the atrocities Xiao Juanhao inflicted on the entire Jiang family in her past life made it impossible for Jiang Peihuan to disregard this. Seeing Jiang Peihuan's grave expression, Yi Xiao assured solemnly, Rest easy, miss. I'll start the investigation right away. You'll know the outcome soon. Good, I appreciate your efforts. Without another word, Yi Xiao quietly exited Plum Garden. While Jiang Peihuan was suspicious of Jian Mei, news from the general's mansion reached the Prince Qing's mansion. In the Qing mansion's study room, Xiao Juanhao sat in the main seat. The person sitting next to him was none other than Meng Yi. Your Highness, we've managed to place our person close to Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan? Not Jiang Hong. Upon hearing Meng Yi's words, Xiao Junhao's brows knitted, indicating some displeasure. Your Highness, you might not know, but Jiang Hong and his wife are deeply in love. Jiang Hong won't even touch Jian Mei. Even if he did, he'd never bring her into the general's mansion. What about Jiang Ren? I hear his ties with the eldest branch of the Jiang family are more substantial. Jiang Ren can handle his liquor exceptionally well. If it were him, I fear he would sense something. In truth, it appeared the Jiang family had grown cautious of him. A piece of information Meng Yi dared not disclose to Xiao Juanhao. If that's the case, let's proceed with your plan. Instruct Jian Mei to keep an eye on the general's mansion. Any significant intel, she must relay immediately. And have her keep a close watch on Jiang Peihuan. Your Highness, the Emperor has betrothed the eldest miss to King Cheng. Are we to stand by and let the Jiang family ally with King Cheng? An imperial decree is beyond my control, but luckily she is marrying Xiao Nani. Though Xiao Nani is highly influential, he is but an imperial uncle. He lacks the potential to ascend to the throne. This could be seen as a blessing in disguise. Knock, knock. A knock sounded at the door. Xiao Juanhao glanced at Meng Yi. You can go now. Unless there's something crucial, yes. Upon hearing Xiao Junhao's words, Meng Yi stood up and left. As he walked through the doorway, he saw Lin Mingyao standing at the entrance. Lin Mingyao had also noticed Meng Yi. Seeing him sparked a hint of surprise in her eyes. Yet she remained silent and merely gave Meng Yi a respectful bow. Meng Yi returned the nod before taking his leave. Yao Er, you're here at this time. Is it because there's progress on that matter? Indeed. After nodding, Lin Mingyao smiled toward Xiao Juanhao and said, The eldest princess has agreed to intercede for you, Your Highness. It's likely that the responsibility for repairing the city moat will fall on you. Yao Er, thank you for your hard work. Upon hearing this, Xiao Junhao's eyes filled with warmth. He gently grasped Lin Mingyio's hand and softly voiced his gratitude. You give me too much credit, Your Highness. It's all part of my duty. Oh, and I just happened to run into General Meng earlier. Is he one of your men? Yes. Upon witnessing Xiao Junhao's affirmative nod, Lin Mingyio's gaze towards him became even more affectionate. He was a man of strategic foresight. By this time, Meng Yi had already left the Qing prince's mansion. Yet he couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. It was as if eyes were constantly following him from behind. However, he turned around several times and did not see anyone. Once Meng Yi returned to his own mansion, a figure finally emerged from around the corner. It was Yi Xiao. Looking at the firmly shut door of the mansion, Yi Xiao's eyes reflected both confusion and discomfort. Having entrusted the task to Yi Xiao, Jiang Peihuan waited for an update in the plum garden. It wasn't until nightfall that Yi Xiao entered her room. Eldest Mississippi. Seeing her enter, Jiang Peihuan set aside the book she was reading. Did you find out anything? This is the information I found when investigating Jian Mei, Yi Xiao said, placing a letter before Jiang Peihuan. She continued, I discovered that Jian Mei was appointed by General Meng. I even tailed him. He has connections with the Qing prince. Yi Xiao was well aware of the ties between Meng Yi and the Jiang family. So when she delivered the last piece of information, she couldn't help but steal a glance at Jiang Peihuan. However, her expression remained impassive. Yi Xiao was an intelligent woman and couldn't resist asking, Did you already know all this, eldest miss? Yes. I've known for a while that Meng Yi is in the service of the Qing prince. So miss, was all of this orchestrated by the Qing prince? Not entirely. Hearing this, confusion flickered in Yi Xiao's eyes while Jiang Peihuan studied the letter in her hand. The document detailed Jian Mei's family background. Jian Mei was indeed from a respectable family. Moreover, her father was once a military officer under Jiang Hong, having lost his life on the battlefield. Upon reading this, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but furrow her brow. Eldest miss, is there an issue with this information? Yi Xiao, did you personally investigate Jiang Mei's background? No, I had the people from the Dark Chamber conduct the investigation, explained Yi Xiao, responding to Jiang Peihuan's confused look. The Dark Chamber was founded by His Highness himself, with specific members dedicated to gathering information. Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan finally understood. Miss, I have some other matters to attend to. I'll leave now. Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to respond, Yi Xiao hastily left the room. Soon after, the window was opened, and a man's slender figure abruptly appeared before her. Jiang Peihuan looked at Xiao Nani, now sitting across from her, with a slight sense of helplessness in her eyes. Your Highness, have you developed a liking for climbing over walls and sneaking through windows? Surely you realize your garden is teeming with people? If I were to use the front entrance, your brother would unquestionably discover my presence. As Xiao Nani said this, a trace of helplessness flickered in his eyes. Hearing his words, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but burst into laughter. Chapter 83. Assassination attempt during an outing. Seeing the smile in her eyes, Xiao Nani also smiled. Your brother treats me as if I were a wolf. My elder brother is simply worried about me, Jiang Peihuan assured him. Huan Er. The moment Jiang Peihuan finished speaking, her hand was held by Xiao Nani. She instinctively looked at him. His eyes were suddenly ablaze. If it had been before, she would not have dared to meet his gaze. But now, having decided to marry the man before her, she softly inquired, What can I do for you, Your Highness? 3 months is too long. If it were up to him, he'd marry her at this very instant. However, Xiao Nani understood this was merely wishful thinking. He could only sneak into the plum garden in the dead of night by scaling the wall, not to mention advancing their marriage. Upon hearing his words, a glint flashed across Jiang Peihuan's eyes. As soon as she realized what Xiao Nani was implying, a wave of warmth swept over her face. Extracting her hand from his, she spoke quietly. My parents believe even 3 months is too hasty. Huan heir, would you accompany me to a certain place? Recalling the reason he had come here, Xiao Nani looked at Jiang Peihuan, posing the question gently. Jiang Peihuan was about to decline, but catching the hopeful look in the man's eyes, she found herself asking, where to? You'll find out when you get there. With that he reached for her hand. Xiao Nani's lightness skill was unmatched. Even carrying Jiang Peihuan, when he left the plum garden, no one noticed their departure except for Han Feng. Looking at the two of them leaving, he sighed softly. Yi Xiao saw him and asked coldly, aren't you going to accompany your master? The master went to great lengths to be alone with the young miss. As his secret guard, how could I intrude? Outside the city limits. At this moment, Jiang Peihuan found herself seated on the back of Zhui Yin, with Xiao Nani positioned behind her. From her early childhood, either in her previous life or the current one, Jiang Peihuan had mastered archery and had never shared a ride with anyone. This was her first time, held in the embrace of a man. Xiao Nani's hands reached around Jiang Peihuan to grasp the reins. He was exceptionally tall, his stature superior even while seated, causing his breath to brush against her ears each time he spoke. We've arrived, Huan heir, he said. Upon viewing the mountain peak before her, a glint of confusion flickered in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. However, once they reached the mountain's top, the panorama took her breath away. The city lay beneath them, bathed in a million lights, the protective mode embracing all its streets. From this vantage point, one could see the whole capital in vivid detail. The sight of the city lights seemingly eased the tension within Jiang Peihuan. Come! Xiao Nani gestured as he dismounted his horse and extended a hand towards her. Meeting the man's outstretched hand, Jiang Peihuan placed her own hand in his. After assisting her off the horse, Xiao Nani released the reins, allowing Zhui Yin to frolic nearby. They proceeded to a nearby grassy area, where Xiao Nani casually sat down, patting the spot next to him as an invitation for Jiang Peihuan to join. Sitting beside him, Jian Peihuan quietly looked at the scenery in the distance. Xiao Nani remained quiet as well, his attention focused on the woman by his side. This sensation was peculiar. In her previous life, she had bared her soul to Xiao Jianhao, but he never reciprocated with genuine emotions. And now in this life, Jiang Peihuan glanced towards the man beside her, her lips parting to speak. But before any words could form, Xiao Nani's face hardened, pushing her away abruptly. A long black arrow flew between them. Immediately, Xiao Nani sprung to his feet, pulling Jiang Peihuan off the ground and shielding her behind him. 6 men in black descended from nowhere and slowly appeared before them. A fierce determination flickered in Xiao Nani's eyes as he took in their presence. Huan heir, be careful. With that, he unfurled his fan and squared off against the 6 black-clad men. Jiang Peihuan could tell that these men were of the same ilk as the ones they had previously encountered outside the Jiang mansion. The only difference being, these 6 were more proficient in their martial skills. But Xiao Nani held his own, skillfully maneuvering against all 6. Jiang Peihuan swiftly drew her whip from her waist, her attention fixated on Xiao Nani's movements. You think you can take this king's life? You overestimate yourselves. At his words, the 6 men in black fell to the ground, but an arrow jet black and unexpected shot forth. Only then did Jiang Peihuan notice a figure perched on a distant tree. The 6 men had been a mere diversion, the real threat being the archer concealed in the tree. Be careful, Your Highness. Jiang Peihuan saw an arrow darting towards Xiao Nani, and immediately swung her whip. The dark whip split the arrow in mid-flight. Nonetheless, Xiao Nani had to grasp his arm where the arrow had hit, revealing a needle hidden within it. Discarding the folding fan in his hand, Xiao Nani successfully made the man dressed in black on the tree end his life by slitting his own throat. However, the needle had already pierced into Xiao Nani's arm. Swiftly, Jiang Peihuan moved closer. You're wounded. It's nothing. Just a minor injury. Death. His words were abruptly interrupted by a bout of bloody coughing. Jiang Peihuan disregarded the risk of revealing her medical knowledge and immediately examined Xiao Nanya's pulse. Upon feeling his pulse, her face turned grave. This needle is poisoned. What kind of poison? Venom from a cobra. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's diagnosis, a glint of hostility flickered in Xiao Nanya's eyes, and he coldly chuckled. She truly stops at nothing. It seems that your highness have an idea who is behind this. It's the Grand Empress Dowager. The Grand Empress Dowager? Jiang Peihuan's initial suspicion fell on the princes, but it never crossed her mind that it would be the Grand Empress Dowager. Stunned, she stared wide-eyed at the man before her. Seeing her surprised look, Xiao Nani smiled slightly. Are you curious about the motives behind this? Could it be that the Grand Empress Dowager fears you might usurp the throne? After a few moments of silence, Jiang Peihuan finally spoke in a low voice. Hearing this, Xiao Nanya's eyes revealed some surprise. He hadn't expected Jiang Peihuan to be this perceptive. That's part of the reason, but not the whole truth. Huan Heir, do you know how to cure this poison? Without uttering a word, Jiang Peihuan promptly rolled up Xiao Nanya's sleeve, extracted the poison needle, then pushed on a ring she was wearing. She used a small knife concealed in the ring to make a finger-length incision on Xiao Nanya's arm. Next, Jiang Peihuan brought out several silver needles and inserted them into precise acupuncture points on Xiao Nanya's arm. Soon, blackened blood began to ooze from the fresh wound. Once the blood flowing from the wound returned to a normal red, Jiang Peihuan withdrew the silver needles and used her handkerchief to carefully dress Xiao Nanya's wound. Throughout this process, the man remained silent. Once everything was taken care of, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but question the man before her. Your Highness, aren't you curious about how I know medicine? Chapter 84. Send the corpse to the Sinang Palace. When you're ready to share, you will, Xiao Nani said. This wasn't the first time Head said these words. Head used them before when Jiang Peihuan had pinned the blame for Meng Yi's actions on him. Jiang Peihuan found herself at a loss for words. She was clearly aware of Xiao Nanya's sincerity, but the more sincere he was, the heavier the burden she felt. She could already feel the man's sincerity, but the more he was like this, the more she felt burdened. Perhaps sensing the change in Jian Peihuan's mood, Xiao Nani spoke gently. It's getting late. We've had our share of the beautiful scenery today. I should take you back. All right, she nodded. Upon seeing her nod, Xiao Nani gave a sharp whistle and Zhui Yin, his horse, dashed over. He swung himself onto the horse, pulling the reins with his right hand, and extended his left hand to Jiang Peihuan. As soon as her hand found his, he gripped it firmly, and with a swift pull, Jiang Peihuan was hoisted up to sit in front of him. Glancing at the corpses strewn across the ground, Jiang Peihuan inquired, What about these bodies? Don't worry, I'll have someone take care of it, he reassured. With that, he wrapped his arms securely around Jiang Peihuan and spurred Zhui Yin forward with a gentle squeeze of his legs. Once again, they chose to climb over the wall. Han Feng, who was dozing off in a tree, woke at the sound and quickly opened his eyes. Get some rest, Xiao Nani advised as he dropped Jiang Peihuan off at her door. Jiang Peihuan's gaze fell upon his injured arm. After a moment of consideration, she softly warned, Avoid getting the wound wet, and remember to change the dressing regularly. Understood, he nodded. Watching him nod in agreement, Jiang Peihuan turned around and entered the room. Master, you're injured. Han Feng voiced out his concern in a low whisper, picking up on the scent of blood on Xiao Nani. Let's discuss this outside, he dismissed, delaying the conversation. Only after seeing the light from Jiang Peihuan's room extinguish, did Xiao Nani retreat, with Han Feng in tow. Once they'd left the plum garden, the tenderness that had softened Xiao Nanya's eyes vanished, replaced by a chilling harshness. He turned to Han Feng, his voice cold and stern. She really believes she can trample all over me. Go to the outskirts and bring those corpses to her, he ordered. Yes, master, Han Feng complied, promptly heading towards the outskirts. That night, within the imperial palace, Sinang Palace, the Grand Empress Dowager placed great emphasis on her daily wellness routines, but age was relentless, affecting the quality of her sleep. Restlessly, she turned on her bed and opened her eyes. However, upon opening her eyes she froze. Moments later, her screams echoed throughout the Sinaying palace. Nyang Nyang, hearing the unsettling sounds, the palace maids and old nanny standing guard rushed into the Grand Empress Dowager's chambers, but were met with a horrifying sight. Ah! The moment the door swung open, the maid spotted the 7 lifeless bodies sprawled across the floor. She shrieked in horror. Silence! One of the old nanny beside the Grand Empress Dowager, agitated by the maid's screams, promptly slapped her. This servant deserves punishment. Realizing her mistake, the startled maid promptly knelt down, offering frantic apologies to the Grand Empress Dowager. Leave us. Spotting the Grand Empress Dowager's grave expression, the old nanny ordered coldly. The palace maid was stunned. She hesitated for a few seconds before quickly exiting the room. What of these bodies? Nyang Nyang, these are our people. They were dispatched tonight. So, that scoundrel has deduced that all of this was orchestrated by me. Upon hearing this, the old nanny remained silent, not daring to utter a word. But it was clear as day, this was indeed the outcome. Otherwise, these bodies wouldn't have ended up here. He's taunting me, proclaiming that I'm powerless against him. Has everything been prepared on our end? Everything has been arranged. Which day did he choose? Upon the Grand Empress Dowager's question, the old nanny remained quiet for a moment before speaking in a low voice. He chose the night of King Cheng's wedding. A fitting date indeed, the Dowager Empress chuckled. At the general mansion as the sky had just begun to lighten, Jiang Ruyan found herself hurriedly heading towards the plum garden. Second miss, greeted Yu Er, her eyes filled with curiosity as she saw Jiang Ruyan entering the courtyard. Where is elder sister? Eldest miss is practicing her skills in the backyard. Upon hearing this, Jiang Ruyan dashed off towards the backyard. Upon reaching the backyard, she found Jiang Peihuan engrossed in sword practice. The swift motion of her blade against the trees and flowers resulted in leaves falling all around her. Jiang Ruyan's eyes widened with surprise at the sight. She had always known of Jiang Peihuan's remarkable martial arts skills, but witnessing her in action was nothing short of awe-inspiring. Elder sister, she called out softly. Not wanting to interrupt her practice, she held back, waiting until Jiang Peihuan finished before she walked forward, handkerchief in hand. As soon as Jiang Ruyan approached, Jiang Peihuan noticed her. She accepted the handkerchief from her and delicately wiped the sweat off her forehead. Handing the handkerchief back to Yu Er, Jiang Peihuan then turned her attention to Jiang Ruyan. What brings you here so early? She inquired. Jiang Peihuan handed the handkerchief to Yu Er and looked at Jiang Ruyan. Why are you here so early? The woman has left the mansion, elder sister, Jiang Ruyan revealed. Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan's eyebrows arched slightly. She had expected Jian Mei to wait a bit longer, but seemed she couldn't hold back. Looking at Jiang Ruyan, Jiang Peihuan asked gently, Did you have someone trail her? Yes, Lan Er is on her tail. I'll change my outfit. Follow me out of the mansion. Of course, elder sister. A little while later, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan left the general's mansion, shortly crossing paths with Lan Er, who had been waiting for them. On spotting Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan, her eyes lit up with excitement. Eldest miss, second miss, I saw Miss Jian entering the Pine and Crane Pavilion. Do you know which room she's in? I do. I've kept a close eye on her. Hearing Lan Er's words, Jiang Peihuan nodded approvingly. Good job. Thank you for your kind words, eldest Mississippi. Elder sister, what's our plan now? Jiang Ruyan asked. We wait, replied Jiang Peihuan calmly. She noticed Jiang Ruyan's confused look and explained. Once we uncover Miss Jian's real intentions, we can successfully remove her from our second uncle's life. But thinking about the information she had gathered the night before, Jiang Peihuan's eyes flickered with complexity. Technically, Jian Mei was the daughter of a noble family, but she was willing to become Jiang Yuan's concubine. Jiang Peihuan had a hard time believing there wasn't an ulterior motive behind it. Eldest miss, second miss were here, announced Lan Er as they reached the second floor of the Pine and Crane Pavilion, pointing to the farthest private room. Looking at the securely closed private room, Jiang Peihuan guided Jiang Ruyan to a room on the opposite side. Once seated, Jiang Peihuan looked at Lan Er and Yu Er and instructed them quietly, "Keep an eye on that room. If their door opens, let me know immediately." "Understood," they both acknowledged, standing by the door, alert and silent. Meanwhile, in the private room across, "Uncle Meng, why have you summoned me?" At this moment, Jiang Mei's eyes no longer had the gentleness in front of Jiang Yuan. Her eyes were full of coldness. Looking at Jian Mei, who was sitting opposite him, Meng Yi whispered Xiao Junhao's instructions to her. Chapter 85. Enemies on a narrow road. He then spoke softly. "Mei, when you're in the general's mansion, keep a watch on not just Jiang Yuan and his brothers, but also Jiang Peihuan." "Jiang Peihuan? What for?" Jian Mei's eyes were full of confusion. "Don't question why. It's Prince Qing's command. Just follow it," he explained. Seeing Jian Mei's troubled face, Meng Yi expressed his concern. "Mei Er, I know you're upset, but you need to bear it for the sake of avenging your father." "Uncle Meng, I understand what you're saying. Don't worry, I'll do as you say. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave now." "Okay, be careful on the way." Jian Mei nodded at Meng Yi and took her leave. As she exited the room, Yu Er and Lan Er hurried to Jiang Peihuan's side. "Eldest miss, second miss, the lady from across has come out." Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan moved to the door. Instead of opening it, they discreetly poked a hole in the door's paper. Jian Mei was seen leaving from the room opposite, but to Jiang Peihuan's surprise, she also caught a glimpse of Meng Yi. Jiang Ruyan had also witnessed this scene. "Why is this woman with Uncle Meng? Could she be trying to seduce both my father and Uncle Meng? No, I need to reveal her true intentions." Jiang Ruyan subconsciously wanted to open the door, but was stopped by Jiang Peihuan. "Elder sister? How are you so sure it wasn't Uncle Meng who invited Miss Jian?" How is that possible?" Jiang Peihuan had already formed a guess, but the rest of the Jiang family was still in the dark about Meng Yi's real identity. After some thought, Jiang Peihuan briefed Jiang Ruyan about Meng Yi. On hearing this, Jiang Ruyan was left shocked. She stared at Jiang Peihuan in disbelief, her eyes wide with astonishment. "Elder sister, is what you said true? Uncle Meng is a bad person? But that doesn't make sense. He's been with our uncle for so many years, how could he be a bad person? Bad people don't always wear a label that says bad. In any case, keep a close eye on Miss Jian when we get back. But don't make any rash moves. We don't want to spook her." Jiang Ruyan was still grappling with the revelation about Meng Yi. Jiang Peihuan decided not to press the issue further. Once Meng Yi also left the private room, Jiang Peihuan turned to Jiang Ruyan and said, "All right, let's head back. Elder sister, now that we're already out, let's take a stroll before heading back. It's been a while since I've been out for a leisurely walk." Jian Peihuan subconsciously wanted to decline, but seeing the hopeful look in Jiang Ruyan's eyes, she gave a nod. "Only for a couple of hours at most." "Great, thank you, elder sister." Jiang Ruyan's smiling eyes brought a soft smile to Jiang Peihuan's lips. Jiang Peihuan didn't mind Jiang Ruyan's naive antics. As long as she didn't cause harm to the Jiang family, Jiang Peihuan would always protect her as a part of the family. "Elder sister, let's go to the Linglong Pavilion. I haven't bought any jewelry in ages." "All right." Looking at the array of dazzling jewelry, excitement filled Jiang Ruyan's eyes. But Jiang Peihuan remained indifferent. "Elder sister, what do you think of this bracelet?" At Jiang Ruyan's query, Jiang Peihuan stepped forward. Jiang Ruyan held a white jade bracelet of excellent quality. "If you like it, wear it. It's my gift to you." "Really?" "Yes." Seeing Jiang Peihuan nod, the smile in Jiang Ruyan's eyes deepened. But just as she was about to put the bracelet on, it was swiftly snatched away. "Master Chow, what do you think of this bracelet?" Yin Xian, holding the bracelet she had just taken from Jiang Ruyan, turned to the man beside her with a smile. The man wasn't strikingly handsome, but his gentle demeanor and decent looks made him appealing. Hearing Yin Zin's question, Chao Jun frowned. "Miss Yin, it seems this bracelet caught the attention of my lady. Perhaps you might want to consider something else?" Chao Jun looked somewhat irritated. His family, the Chaos, weren't nobility but they were respectable scholars. He found Yan Xin's behavior distasteful, but he couldn't argue against his parents' wishes. Despite hearing Chao Jun's displeasure, Yan Xian replied nonchalantly, "But I really like this bracelet." She naturally knew that Chao Jun was unhappy. She wanted him to be unhappy. The man she desired was a refined gentleman, not someone ordinary like Chao Jun. Jiang Ruyan's good mood was instantly ruined. Staring at the bracelet now in Yan Xin's hand, she spoke coldly. "Yan Xian, do you always have this compulsion to snatch other people's belongings? What do you mean by snatch? Have you paid for this bracelet? If it hadn't been taken from my hand, I would have already paid. That just means you haven't paid yet. So now that it's in my hands, it's mine. By Miss Yan's logic, the bracelet belongs to whoever holds it, is that right?" Jiang Peihuan, who had been watching the whole situation, chimed in. At the sound of Jiang Peihuan's voice, a flicker of panic crossed Yan Xin's face, but she quickly regained her composure. "Yes, the bracelet belongs to whoever." "Ah." Before Yan Xian could finish her sentence, she felt a sudden pain on the back of her hand. Jiang Peihuan had stepped forward, snatched the bracelet from her, and smacked the back of her hand quite hard. Yan Xian looked at her hand, the back of which was now bright red. Seeing this, Jiang Ruyan's eyes filled with surprise. "Take it. Make sure you keep your belongings safe. One won't help you retrieve it again." Jiang Peihuan spoke with a calm voice as she handed the bracelet over to Jiang Ruyan. "Thank you, elder sister." Jiang Ruyan accepted the bracelet from Jiang Peihuan and immediately adorned her wrist with it. "You go pay the bill." "Yes, young Mississippi." "Jiang Peihuan, you shouldn't overstep." Staring at Jian Peihuan, Yan Xian said angrily. Yet, Jiang Peihuan showed no reaction, seemingly ignoring her words entirely. Seeing this, Yan Xian is dissatisfied. She turned to Chao Jun, who was beside her. "Are you just going to watch them bully me? Chao Jun, what are you staring at?" Yan Xian realized Chao Jun was frozen in place. Following his gaze, she found his attention was fixed on Jiang Ruyan. Seeing this scene, Yan Xin's eyes were filled with frustration. If Chao Jun's attention was on Jiang Peihuan, she could have tolerated it. But Jiang Ruyan? She was a divorced woman from the Huainan mansion. Even though Yan Xian didn't have feelings for Chao Jun, she felt insulted by his attention on another woman. "Chao Jun, don't let yourself be fooled by Jiang Ruyan. She's a discarded wife, sent away with a divorce letter from the Huainan mansion. You can't possibly find such a..." Silence. Jiang Ruyan's eyes blazed with fury upon hearing Yan Xin's words. Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to speak up, Chao Jun's voice of rebuke echoed in the room. Chapter 86. Today I will send the matchmaker Miss Yan as a lady. How can you speak so viciously? Everyone in Jingdo knows that the issue between the second Miss Jiang and the Prince of Huainan was entirely the fault of the Huainan mansion. And to clarify, the Huainan mansion did not issue a divorce letter. They divorced peacefully. "You, Chao Jun, have you forgotten the instructions of your parents?" she pressed. "Do you still want to marry me?" Yan Xian was so angry that her eyes turned red. Chao Jun had always been subservient in front of her. Although she didn't like it, she enjoyed the feeling. But now, she wanted nothing more than to kill Chao Jun. At this, Jiang Peihuan laughed lightly and said, "Miss Yan, since your heart belongs to someone else, perhaps you shouldn't marry anyone else." "You, what are you blabbering about?" Yan Xian stammered. "Am I? Could it be that Miss Yan doesn't have a liking for Qing?" "Shut up!" Yan Xian yelled, her eyes flaming with wrath. She glared at Jiang Peihuan, and a question loomed in Yan Xin's mind. How did Jiang Peihuan know? Jiang Peihuan, as if reading her thoughts, mocked. "Miss Yan, the truth always finds a way to reveal itself. So if you don't want others to know, don't do it at all." "I see now." Chao Jun laughed heartily. "Miss Yan, your coldness towards me now makes sense. It seems you've given your heart to someone else. I will inform my parents immediately. I, Chao Jun, cannot afford to marry you." Having said this, Chao Jun turned to leave. "Stop right there." Hearing the voice behind him, Chao Jun halted. Is there anything else, Miss Yen? If not me, who else are you planning to marry? Don't tell me you're considering Jiang Ruyan? Yen Xin's words were hasty, but upon hearing them, Chao Jun burst into laughter. Indeed, I am actually planning to marry Miss Jiang Ruyan. At this revelation, Yen Xian was stunned, as were Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan. Young Master Chao, a woman's reputation is a matter of great importance. Don't take my sister's reputation lightly, Jiang Peihuan warned, her eyes full of caution as she stared at Chao Jun. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Chao Jun stepped forward, offering a solemn bow to both Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan. Eldest Miss, I am not playing around. I am entirely serious, and will immediately go home to inform my parents. Tomorrow. No, today I will send for a matchmaker. With that, Chao Jun dashed off. Jiang Ruyan was left stunned, as was Jiang Peihuan. Yen Xian, however, was nearly frenzied. She glared at Jiang Ruyan, her voice laced with ridicule. Jiang Ruyan, you truly have no shame. A lowly widow like you dares to entice. Miss Yen, Jiang Peihuan interrupted. I advise you to watch your words. Otherwise, my whip won't stay idle. Stepping up to Yen Xian, Jiang Peihuan uncoiled her long black whip. You all. Jiang Peihuan, just you wait. This isn't over. After saying this, Yen Xian ran away, leaving Jiang Ruyan and Jian Peihuan alone. What's wrong? Upon turning back, Jiang Peihuan noticed Jiang Ruyan standing there, seemingly lost. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's voice, she regained her senses. Elder sister, I know young Master Chao. You know him? This time, Jian Peihuan was really surprised. Initially, she had thought that what Chao Jun had just said was just a joke. Now that she saw Jiang Ruyan like this, Jiang Peihuan felt that there was a story behind it. After such a thing happened, the two of them did not continue shopping. After getting on the carriage, Jiang Ruyan looked at Jian Peihuan and said, Elder sister, do you still remember that I lived at our maternal grandparents' house for 2 years? Yes. When I was living there, my cousins didn't like to play with me, but a boy from the neighboring house often did. Is this boy from the neighboring house young Master Chao? Yes. Hearing this, Jiang Ruyan nodded. Jiang Peihuan fell silent. Afterwards, the two remained quiet until they reached home. Upon entering the mansion, Jiang Ruyan hesitated before taking Jiang Peihuan's hand. Elder sister, if he truly does come, what should I do? As she spoke, nervousness filled Jiang Ruyan's eyes. Seeing her look, Jian Peihuan thought for a moment and then gently asked, if young Master Kai sincerely proposes to you, would you consider accepting him? Me? Her failure to reject the idea immediately meant tacit consent. If that's the case, then let's go with the flow. But I'm no longer a maiden. How could I marry him? As she said this, a hint of tears welled up in Jiang Ruyan's eyes. Seeing her in such a state, Jiang Peihuan's voice softened considerably. Ruyan, remember this. While appearance matters, it's the soul that truly counts. Young Master Chao must surely know everything about you. If, knowing all this, he still dares to propose, it signifies he doesn't care about your past. Or perhaps he deems it unimportant. If so, why worry? Come on, let's go inside. Elder sister, could I spend a little time in your plum garden? Sure. Jiang Ruyan accompanied Jiang Peihuan to the plum garden. Upon entering, they found Jiang Xijin sitting there visibly bored. Hearing voices, the young girl turned around, seeing Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan who had just come in. Confusion filled Jiang Xijin's eyes. Eldest sister, second sister? Aren't you busy with your horse all day? How do you find the time to visit me? Dad says that even if I don't need rest, the horse does. He forbade me from riding for the next 2 days. Jiang Xijin's eyes were brimming with resentment as she spoke. Upon hearing this, a smile crept into Jiang Peihuan's eyes. Turning towards Jiang Xijin, Jiang Peihuan gently advised, your Fergana horse was a precious find for our father. If you exhaust it to death, father might not find a second one for you. Eldest sister. Upon seeing the teasing look in Jiang Peihuan's eyes, Jiang Xijin voiced her displeasure. All right, I'll stop teasing you. Tell me, what's the matter? Eldest sister, I want to join the military camp. Hearing this, Jian Paihuan's eyes revealed some surprise. She looked at Jiang Xijin and continued to ask, "First, tell me, why do you want to join the military camp?" Second brother is just 3 months older than me, and he's already in the military camp. Songbai is a man, and men in our family are supposed to join the military camp from a young age. Alright, second brother is a man, but you eldest sister are a woman. You fought on the battlefield at my age, so why can't I? Elder sister had no choice back then. Now, our family doesn't need a little girl like you taking such risks. Before Jiang Peihuan could even reply, Jiang Ruyan, who was sitting next to them, chimed in first. Chapter 87. Visit to propose marriage. I understand, one Jiang Xijin replied softly. Despite her young age, she grasped the essence of the matter. Yet she still longed for the military camp. Xijin, why do you wish to join the military camp? 11 Jiang Peihuan gently asked, placing a cup of tea before the young girl. Jiang Xijin lifted her gaze towards Jiang Peihuan, a determined look in her eyes. Eldest sister, I want to be in the military camp. It's my heartfelt wish. 11 Growing up, one was surrounded by the sight of our parents in armor. They were always in the military camp. Our eldest brother joined the camp early, and you, eldest sister, entered the battlefield at a young age. I've been waiting for my turn. One understand the logic behind your words. Second sister, one know that the Jiang family no longer needs me to fight. But am not seeking the battlefield, one yearn for the military camp. One am a Jiang daughter, born with a warrior's blood. Jiang Xijin's voice was soft, but it carried a firm resolve. Jiang Ruyan looked stunned upon hearing this, while Jiang Peihuan remained silent. Finally, Jiang Peihuan turned towards Jiang Xijin. The military camp is a harsh place. Once there, being a daughter of the Jiang family won't earn you special treatment. Are you sure you want to endure that? I'm not scared of hardship, Jiang Xijin promptly responded. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, Jiang Xijin's eyes lit up with hope. She grabbed onto Jiang Peihuan's sleeve, whispering, Eldest sister, does this mean you agreed to let me join the military camp? The thought of joining the military camp brought a bright smile to Jiang Xijin's face. Observing her happiness, Jiang Peihuan's mood lifted, but she couldn't help feeling helpless. I can try speaking to our parents on your behalf, but one can't guarantee their approval. Eldest sister, if you speak to them, they will surely agree. Let us go. 111 accompany you to find them right away. Anxious and excited, Jiang Xijin held onto Jiang Peihuan's hand tightly, worried she might change her mind. Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to speak, a person in a hurried pace followed Yu Er into the plum garden. The newcomer was Ping Er, the handmaid of Zhou Rongfang. Second miss, the madam wishes for your presence in the front courtyard. Ping Er delivered her message upon entering the garden. She quickly glanced towards Jiang Ruyan, respectfully awaiting a response. Seeing her anxious look, Jiang Ruyan couldn't help but ask, Does my mother need me for something? Ping Er nodded and disclosed, The representative from the Chao family has arrived. They intend to propose marriage to you. What did you just say? Jiang Ruyan's surprised gasp echoed through the garden. She stood abruptly from her seat, eyes wide in disbelief. At the news, Jiang Peihuan also showed a trace of surprise. Her perception of Chao Jun shifted unexpectedly. She had not anticipated him to be a man of his word. Seeing Jiang Ruyan's shock morph into panic, Jiang Peihuan quietly advised, Don't rush, first find out what's going on. Turning to Ping Er, she inquired, Who has come to visit? Ping Wana replied promptly, It's Lord and Madam Chao. In QJ Kingdom, it was common for a matchmaker to arrange marriage proposals. However, when a bride's parents personally made the house call, it indicated exceptional satisfaction with the prospective match. This gesture showcased Chao Jun's earnest intentions. You should go to second madam first. Understood. Ping Er bowed before walking out. Jiang Xijin observed the unfolding scene with confusion. Her gaze traveled from Jiang Ruyan to Jiang Peihuan, and finally rested on her eldest sister, Jiang Peihuan. 111 explain later, Jiang Peihuan reassured her. As for your entry into the military camp, We'll discuss it with our parents tomorrow. For now, you should return to your own garden. All right, 111 head back then. Understanding Jiang Paihuan's predicament, Jiang Xijin didn't press further. After offering a polite bow, the young girl dashed off. As Jiang Xijin's figure vanished from the garden entrance, Jiang Peihuan turned to Jiang Ruyan and suggested, "Since second aunt has requested your presence, you should prepare yourself. Go change into something more appropriate." Jiang Ruyan responded nervously, "Elder sister, can you accompany me?" When Jian Paihuan's voice fell, Jiang Ruyan suddenly reached out and grabbed her hand. At the sight of her gripping hand, Jiang Peihuan hesitated. Recognizing Jiang Ruyan's distress, she nodded and replied, "All right." Half a TS time later, the two sisters were en route to the front hall. As they approached the main hall, Jiang Ruyan, anxiety evident in her grip, asked, "Elder sister, do one look okay?" As he spoke, there was a hint of unconfidence in his eyes. Upon hearing her words, Jiang Peihuan took a good look at Jiang Ruyan's attire, a light pink dress, adorned with a matching pearl hairpin. This look added a touch of delicacy to Jiang Ruyan. Noticing the doubt in Jiang Ruyan's eyes, Jiang Peihuan spoke softly, "Your makeup is flawless, Ruyan. Remember, you are a daughter of the Jiang family. Stand tall, no matter Arichi time or place." "Let's go in," she concluded, leading the way inside. Dressed in her usual green outfit, her long hair nearly bundled with a wooden hairpin, Jiang Peihuan couldn't be overlooked. Despite the simplicity of her appearance, her natural charisma commanded attention. Looking at Jiang Peihuan's back, Jiang Ruyan felt a surge of courage. She imitated Jiang Peihuan's posture and slowly walked into the main hall. At this moment, there were 6 people sitting in the main hall. Apart from the Jiang Hong and Jiang Yuan couples, the remainder were the Chao couple. Father, mother, second uncle, second aunt. First uncle, first aunt, father, mother. Together, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan came forward to greet everyone. On seeing them, Jiang Hong, acting as the elder, nodded in acknowledgement. Then he introduced the Chao couple with a smile. "This is Uncle Chao and Aunt Chao. Huan Ruyan, you should greet them." "Greetings, Uncle Chao, Auntie Chao." Turning to the Chao couple, Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan bowed simultaneously. When she bowed, Jiang Peihuan subtly appraised the couple. Mr. Chao seemed stern, but his eyes were honest. Mrs. Chao, on the other hand, reminded Jiang Peihuan of Wuxia. Both were soft-spoken, gentle individuals. When Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan stood up, Mrs. Chao directly grabbed Jiang Ruyan's hand. "This must be the second Mississippi. You're quite a beauty." To anyone with keen eyes, it was apparent that Jiang Peihuan was more beautiful than Jiang Ruyan. Yet, Mrs. Chao's compliment brought smiles to the faces of Jiang Yuan and his wife. Zhou Rongfang in particular looked pleased. Previously, she held little regard for scholarly families like the Chaos. However, after the incident at the Huainan mansion, her outlook had significantly changed. "Mrs. Chao, you're too kind," she replied modestly. Chapter 88. Don't let any other woman come close to me, only you. Upon hearing Mrs. Chao's words, Zhou Rongfang responded with a modest smile. "Second, madam. One lived in Qizhou for many years and had a good relationship with the young madam of the Zhou family. If you don't mind, please feel free to visit me more often. One can't promise much, but one can assure you that the Jizhou pastries one make are quite authentic." "That sounds wonderful. One was just lamenting about not being able to find such authentic pastries in the capital. Now that one know this, one hope you won't find my frequent visits bothersome." "Of course not." Upon hearing Zhou Rongfang's words, Mrs. Chao laughed warmly. The two engaged in friendly banter, each full of praise for the other, creating a harmonious atmosphere in the main hall. Sensing the opportune moment, Mrs. Chao cut straight to the chase, turning to Jiang Yuan and Zhou Rongfang. With a soft chuckle, she said, "To be honest, my husband and I are here today because we want to discuss something with both of you. Please do tell, madam." At this point, Mrs. Chao's gaze shifted to Jiang Ruyan. "I am here today to propose a marriage for my son. I would like to engage your second daughter as his wife." Though the intent of the Chow family's visit had been anticipated, Jiang Yuan and his wife were still shocked by the directness of the proposal. The Jiang family was thoroughly pleased with this marriage prospect. However, after hearing Mrs. Chow's words, Zhou Rongfang laughed lightly and said, "Marriage is indeed a significant matter, and I need to consult with my husband. How about this? I'll send someone to deliver our response to you tomorrow. Would that be acceptable?" Of course. When the Jiang family didn't oppose outright, the Chow family knew they had almost secured the match. Therefore, on hearing Zhou Rongfang's response, Mrs. Chow promptly smiled and nodded in agreement. With everything discussed and the sky darkening, the Chow couple suggested it was time for them to take their leave. Once the Chow couple had left, it was time for the Jiang family to deliberate. Shui Yin turned to Zhou Rongfang and said, "Second sister-in-law, please discuss this thoroughly with your husband. We will head back home now. Thank you for your assistance today, elder sister-in-law." Despite a recent disagreement, Zhou Rongfang smiled and nodded, knowing that Jiang Ruiyan's future still depended on the support of the eldest siblings. Jiang Peihuan gave a respectful bow to Jiang Yuan and his wife, then left alongside her parents. "Huaner, I heard you accompanied Ruyan out of the house today. Do you have any idea about this sudden marriage proposal from the Chow family?" Once they stepped out of the main hall, Shui Yin couldn't resist asking Jiang Peihuan about the surprising turn of events. Hearing her words, Jiang Peihuan nodded, proceeding to recount the day's happenings on the streets. When young Master Chow left, he did indeed mention sending a matchmaker. "But I never thought that Lord Chow and Madam Chow would actually come to propose a marriage tonight. So it seems this young Master Chow holds genuine affection for Ruyan," Shui Yin whispered to herself. However, thinking of the Yin family, she furrowed her brows. "Brother Hong, do you think this might cause the Yin family to harbor resentment towards us?" Jiang Hong had been silent throughout, quietly observing his wife and daughter's conversation. Only after Shui Yan's words did he speak softly. "Even without this incident, the Yin family was never going to align with us. Given that, we shouldn't concern ourselves over this matter." Even though Jiang Hong's tone was calm, it was laced with a chilling resolve. "Father, mother, there's something I'd like to discuss with you. What's the matter?" The topic had finally shifted to Shui Yan's Yin Lin. Upon settling in the living room, both Jiang Hong and his wife turned their attention to Jiang Peihuan. Meeting their eyes, Jian Peihuan briefly told them about Jiang Xijin, wanting to join the military camp. Initially, Jiang Peihuan intended to bring it up the next day. However, with the Chow family's proposal being accepted so swiftly, she decided to address Jiang Xijin's matter right away. "Father, one understand that you and mother are reluctant to see Xijin suffer. But Xijin isn't a child anymore. She has her own dreams. If we persistently deter her, she might just sneak off. Xijin is our family's child. From birth, all Jiang children are destined to be warriors. If that's the case, I believe we should support Xijin." Hearing Jian Peihuan's words, Jiang Hong's eyes revealed a bit of hesitation. He subconsciously looked at Shui Yin. "Yin heir, what do you think?" Shui Yin looked at Jian Peihuan and said unhappily, "With all you've said, did Xijin coax you into advocating for her?" Upon hearing Shui Yan's words, Jiang Peihuan didn't deny it but instead nodded. She then looked at Shui Yan and asked softly, "Mother, do you agree?" "Well, if she yearns to go that badly, let her," Shui Yan said softly after a few seconds of silence. "Father, mother, it's getting late. You should rest. 111 Take my leave." Seeing Shui Yan's nod, Jiang Peihuan rose, bowed to her parents, then left Yin Lin. "Young miss, the third miss must be thrilled now." Exiting Yin Lin, Yu Er couldn't help but look at Jiang Peihuan and chuckle. Jiang Peihuan smiled, not saying much. Once inside the plum garden, she told Yu Er, "It's late. You should rest too." Understood. Having grown accustomed to Jiang Peihuan spending her nights alone, Yu Er took her leave right after bowing to her. Upon opening her room door, Jiang Peihuan was greeted by a familiar scent. As expected, Xiao Nani was casually seated, a cup of hot tea atop the table. She didn't know exactly when it started, but he had developed the habit of visiting her every night. Like tonight, Even though Xiao Nani had planned to rest, he still got dressed and made his way to the general's mansion after settling into bed. Has your highness become addicted to coming here now? Jiang Peihuan ignited the table candle and casually cast a glance at the man seated in the chair. She had posed the question without much thought, but to her surprise, he nodded earnestly. Yes, somewhat addicted. Jian Peihuan was speechless. When she turned around, she noticed the handkerchief she had given him, still wrapped around his arm. A frown creased her forehead, and she asked in a soft tone, Haven't you changed the dressing on your hand? Han Feng is too clumsy. I didn't trust him with it, so one came here. During this explanation, Xiao Nani took out a bottle of wound ointment and set it on the table. On a tree just outside the door, Han Feng's hearing was sharp. Upon hearing his master's words, the corners of his mouth twitched. Inside the house, Jiang Peihuan eyed the ointment on the table, a touch of helplessness evident in her gaze. Your highness could have your maids apply the ointment, you know? I don't have maids at my place. Before Jiang Peihuan could complete her suggestion, Xiao Nani gently interrupted her. Facing her surprised look, he calmly stated, I don't let any other woman come close to me, only you. Upon hearing his words, Jiang Peihuan managed to keep her expression neutral, but a subtle wave of happiness stirred within her. Moving closer, she softly suggested, Allow me to change the dressing for you, your highness. Chapter 89. Jianmei was poisoned as she spoke. Jiang Peihuan settled down, next to Xiao Nani, gently removing the handkerchief from his arm. The handkerchief was stained with both blood and medication. As she was about to dispose of it, it was swiftly taken from her hand. Seeing the confusion in Jiang Peihuan's eyes, the man lightly chuckled. This is the first gift Huan Heir gave me. I must cherish it. Upon hearing his words, Jiang Peihuan's eyes gleamed with contemplation. Xiao Nani had given her many things, such as jewelry, medicine, weapons, and more. Yet, she realized she hadn't given him any significant gift in return. Looking at the handkerchief that was taken by the man, Jiang Peihuan secretly remembered this matter in her heart. When the wound was revealed, it looked quite horrifying, even after being treated with medicine. Remembering the men in black, Jiang Peihuan found herself asking, Have those bodies been dealt with, your highness? I had Han Feng deliver the bodies to their master. Jiang Peihuan remembered the man mentioning that the Grand Empress Dowager was the person behind the scenes. Surprise flashed in her eyes as she blurted out, You sent the bodies to the palace? Yes. His audacity was startling, yet it was entirely in line with Xiao Nani's usual style of doing things. After carefully applying the medicine to the wound, Jiang Peihuan took a new handkerchief and helped him bandage the wound. Next, she handed him the porcelain bottle that had been on the table. Your highness, the wound has been bandaged. Please keep this medicine. Keep the medicine. Since I will come here to change the bandage anyway, it will save me the trouble. Was that an implication that he intended to visit every night from now on? Looking at the man before her, a hint of uncertainty lingered in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. As if to verify her guess, Xiao Nani stood up. I'll come back tomorrow. After saying this, the man walked towards the door. This time, he didn't climb out through the window. As he reached the door, the man turned to regard Jiang Peihuan and lightly chuckled. It's getting late. You should rest as well. When Xiao Nani exited Jiang Peihuan's room, Han Feng descended from the tree, bowed to Jiang Peihuan, and then followed his master's lead. Watching the man climb over the wall, a smile surfaced on Jiang Peihuan's face. It was already quite late. Jiang Peihuan hadn't been in bed for long before sleep started to claim her. However, Jian Peihuan was destined not to sleep well that night. Young miss. Jiang Peihuan was a light sleeper, so as soon as she heard a noise at the door, her eyes flew open. What's the matter? The one who knocked was Yu Heir. Upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's voice, she gently pushed the door open. Once she reached the bedside, she spoke in a low voice. Eldest Ivyless, there's been an incident in Feng Yuan. Miss Jiang, the second miss urgently requests your presence, said Lan Er, her voice strained with anxiety. Stirring from her bed, Jiang Peihuan turned towards Yu Heir. Could you bring me my clothes, please? With Yu Er's assistance, Jiang Peihuan swiftly dressed and donned her coat. Stepping outside her room, she spotted the anxious Lan Er waiting in the courtyard, with Yi Xiao standing nearby. "Eldest miss," Lan Er promptly greeted as Jiang Peihuan emerged. "What's the matter?" Jiang Peihuan asked, making her way toward the courtyard while keeping her eyes on Lan Er. From Lan Er's narration, Jiang Peihuan came to grasp the situation. Jian may have been poisoned, and all the evidence was pointing towards Zhou Rongfang. An intense quarrel had ensued between Jiang Yuan and Zhou Rongfang, causing an atmosphere of fear to grip the household staff of Fang Garden. Unable to handle the situation, Jiang Ruyan had no choice but to seek Jiang Peihuan's help. Just as she reached the entrance of Fang Garden, the uproar from inside reached Jiang Peihuan. Pausing for a moment, she waved at Yi Xiao. Catching her signal, Yi Xiao promptly stepped forward. "I need you to carry out a task, but make sure you don't draw attention." Jiang Peihuan leaned in, whispering specific instructions into Yi Xiao's ear. Understanding the orders, Yi Xiao nodded. "I'm on it, miss," she said, then slipped away into the darkness. Once Yi Xiao was out of sight, Jiang Peihuan, with Yu Er by her side, proceeded to enter Fang Garden. Inside the main hall of Fang Garden, a heated argument was in full swing. "Jiang Yuan, have all our years as husband and wife led you to perceive me as a villain?" Zhou Rongfang's eyes blazed with fury as she stared at Jiang Yuan sitting across from her, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. On hearing this, Jiang Yuan let out a cold, bitter laugh. "Villain, you say? You poisoned the soup with arsenic, a substance that can take lives. Is that not villainous? I've already told you that I didn't put in the poison. It has nothing to do with me. Then who else could it be? You're the one managing everything in Fang Garden." Jiang Yuan coldly interrupted Zhou Rongfang's defense. She recoiled, her eyes filled with both anger and a trace of hurt. Upon hearing the commotion from outside, Jiang Peihuan rushed forward. "Second uncle, second aunt?" Seeing the sudden appearance of Jiang Peihuan, the anger on Jiang Yuan's face somewhat subsided. Only after Jiang Peihuan had performed her courteous bow, did he murmur, "Hua Er, why have you come over so late?" "I invited elder sister here." Just as Jiang Peihuan was about to speak, the voice of Jiang Ruyan echoed from the doorway. Upon entering the main hall, and paying her respects to Jiang Yuan and his wife, Jiang Ruyan reached out and took Zhou Rongfang's hand. "Mother, are you all right?" "Yin Er, your father, he's driving me to my grave." Initially, Zhou Rongfang had managed to keep her composure, but when she saw her daughter, she could no longer hold back her tears. Seeing Zhou Rongfang crying with tears in her eyes, Jiang Ruyan's eyes were also a little upset, but he still patiently comforted her. "Mother, don't cry first. Things haven't been clarified yet." After comforting Zhou Rongfang, Jiang Ruyan turned her attention to Jiang Yuan. "Father, I know mother can be somewhat assertive, but she would never commit such harmful acts. So father, please don't jump to conclusions about this matter." Upon hearing Jiang Ruyan's words, Jiang Peihuan, standing to the side, showed a flicker of surprise in her eyes. She halted, pulling back the step she had been about to take. The Jiang household was large, and with the crowd came a multitude of affairs. If she had to take care of everything herself, she would surely be worn out in no time. Jiang Yuan, despite maintaining a stern expression, exhibited a softer tone towards his only daughter. "Your mother oversees everything in Fang Garden. She was the one who instructed the preparation of the soup. If not her, who else could be behind the poisoning?" At his words, Zhou Rongfang's newly calmed emotions flared up in anger once again. But just as she was about to voice her objection, Jiang Ruyan firmly held her back. Giving her mother a slight shake of the head, Jiang Ruyan turned towards Jiang Yuan. "Father, perhaps it would be best if I took the reins on this matter. I assure you I will investigate this thoroughly. Regardless of the outcome, I will produce the necessary evidence." Hearing Jiang Ruyan's words, Jiang Yuan's brow furrowed, his eyes reflecting a hint of uncertainty and conflict. That's when Jiang Peihuan softly interjected. "Second uncle, this matter involves second aunt's honor. I think a comprehensive investigation is crucial." Chapter 90. Show one's true colors. Okay. Given the circumstances, Yun heir, you have 3 days. 3 days from now, if you can't clarify that this matter has nothing to do with your mother, I will bring Miss Jian into our house. No one can stop me." With these words, Jiang Yuan made his exit from the main hall. Upon his departure, Zhou Rongfang sank, almost collapsing into the chair. "Mother." The sight of Zhou Rongfang in this state evoked a pang of sympathy in Jiang Ruyun. She wanted to comfort her mother, but was at a loss for words. Seeing her daughter's concern slightly improved Zhou Rongfang's demeanor. Yet, as she watched the direction of Jiang Yuan's departure, her eyes were still filled with resentment. "After all," she said, "your father just wants to bring that woman home. Mother, now is not the time to dwell on these matters. It's late, you should go rest. One promise one will thoroughly investigate this issue. But for these 3 days, please avoid any conflicts with father. Any concerns can be addressed once we've proven your innocence." Zhou Rongfang didn't have high hopes for Jiang Ruyan, but she couldn't ignore her daughter's sincerity, so she simply nodded. After Zhou Rongfang's departure, exhaustion enveloped Jiang Ruyan, and she collapsed onto the chair. At that moment, a cup of tea was brought to her. When Jiang Ruyan looked up, she was met with the smiling eyes of Jiang Peihuan. "Thank you, elder sister." After accepting the tea from Jiang Peihuan, Jiang Ruyan expressed her gratitude in a soft voice. After a couple of sips of tea, Jiang Ruyan turned her attention to Jiang Peihuan. "Elder sister, about today's events, your actions today were exemplary and pleasantly surprising. Elder sister, everything I did today was learned from you." When she initially received the news, Jiang Ruyan was in total chaos. Her immediate instinct was to send Lan Er to find Jiang Peihuan. Remembering Jiang Peihuan, she started to recall how she handled situations when they occurred. This reminiscing allowed her to regain her calm, which led to her composed response earlier. Upon hearing Jiang Ruyan's words, Jiang Peihuan's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. She picked up her teacup and took a few sips. Once she had set her cup down, she turned her gaze towards Jiang Ruyan. "So, how do you plan to go about the investigation?" "I don't know. Elder sister, can you help me?" Jiang Ruyan seemed slightly awkward as she asked the question, assuming that Jiang Peihuan might reject her outright, given this was a matter involving the second branch of the family. Unexpectedly, Jian Peihuan nodded and stood up. "Let's go and visit Miss Jian first." "Visit her." Jiang Ruyan looked uncomfortable with the idea, but seeing Jiang Peihuan's nod, she didn't voice any further objections. Mississippi. No sooner had they exited the main hall than they saw Yi Xiao approaching them. Seeing her, Jiang Peihuan halted. "Well, as per your instructions, I've brought Miss Jian's soup," Yi Xiao reported, carrying a basket. "Have you inspected it?" "Yes. The soup indeed contains arsenic. The quantity is not small either, about 2 taels." Yi Xiao had a solid background in medicine. Hearing her report, Jiang Peihuan's eyes glinted with a tinge of mockery. "Store the soup safely." Turning to Jiang Ruyan, she suggested, "Let's visit Miss Jian." Confusion filled Jiang Ruyan. As she trailed behind Jiang Peihuan, she found herself reaching for her hand. "Elder sister, why did you ask Yi Xiao to bring the soup? Do you know the amount of arsenic needed to poison someone fatally?" Though Jiang Ruyan lacked medical knowledge, she knew that arsenic was a potent poison. "A small amount should suffice, I suppose." Instead of answering her directly, Jiang Peihuan turned to Yi Xiao. "You explain it to the second miss." Under normal circumstances, 5 taels of arsenic can poison a person to death. The quantity in this soup is enough to kill more than 10 individuals. Upon hearing Yi Xiao's explanation, Jiang Ruyan lapsed into deep contemplation. A moment later, her eyes were ablaze with anger. She must be pretending. Given the amount of poison in the soup, if Jiang Mei had really consumed it, she'd be dead by now, not comfortably lying around. Recognizing Jiang Ruyan's understanding, Jiang Peihuan offered a knowing smile. "Whether she's feigning or not, we'll find out when we see her." Jian Mei lived in the backyard of Fang Garden. Jiang Ruyan led Jiang Peihuan to a courtyard gate. "Elder sister, this is the place." Taking in the courtyard, Jiang Peihuan had to admit, her uncle had been quite generous to Jian Mei. "Lan Er, go knock on the door." Yes, Mississippi. Is anyone in there? At Jiang Ruyan's command, Lan Er stepped forward, knocking on the door while calling out. There was no response from within, though the bright lights indicated someone was home. After knocking for what felt like an eternity, Lan Er returned to Jiang Ruyan. Second miss, it seems like no one is responding. Yi Xiao opened the door. Understood, Mississippi. Yi Xiao advanced to the courtyard door. When she was just a step away, she lifted her leg and gave a forceful kick. The door swung open instantaneously. Witnessing the scene, both Lan Er and Jiang Ruyan stood in stunned silence. However, Jiang Peihuan coolly prompted, "Let's go inside." Jiang Peihuan and Jiang Ruyan had barely stepped into the courtyard when they saw several people hastily approaching them. So it's the first miss, and the second Mississippi. I thought we had an intruder, said Shi Er, a maid attending to Jiang Mei. Upon seeing her, Jiang Ruyan bluntly addressed, "Eldest sister, and I specifically came to see Miss Jian. We've been waiting at the door for a while. Didn't any of you hear the knocking? Second miss, please accept our apologies. We were all inside caring for the young lady, and didn't hear any noise." This was clearly an excuse to make a big deal out of the situation. Jiang Ruyan's eyes were filled with anger. Upon seeing this, Jiang Peihuan, standing nearby, softly interjected, "One assumed Miss Jian's condition must be quite severe. Please lead us to see her." As she spoke, Jian Peihuan walked straight ahead, but Shi Er reached out and stopped her. "Eldest miss, the young lady has already fallen asleep. You." Before Shi Er could finish her sentence, Lan Er stepped forward and delivered a hard slap to her face. Shi Er covered her face with her hand, glaring at Lan Er with anger in her eyes. However, Lan Er seemed entirely unconcerned. She only said with a scornful tone, "Who do you think you are to stop the first and second miss? Elder sister, let's go." Jiang Ruyan said without even looking at Shi Er, but rather addressing Jiang Peihuan. With that, the two ladies proceeded straight towards Jian Mei's room. Just as they reached the door, it swung open from the inside to reveal Jian Mei, pale-faced, standing at the entrance. "First miss, second miss, my deepest apologies. One. Why are you just standing there? Can't you see that Miss Jian is weak? Help her onto the bed now." Without waiting for Jian Mei to finish her sentence, Jiang Peihuan turned to the maids beside her. Immediately, Yi Xiao and Lan Er rushed to support Jian Mei. Chapter 91. Confrontation with the medicine apprentice. After assisting Jian Mei into her bed, Yi Xiao acknowledged Jiang Peihuan with a subtle nod. However, lying in bed, Jian Mei wore an irritated expression. She shot a cold look at Jiang Ruyan and Jiang Peihuan, then said, "Eldest miss, second miss, am not feeling well and need to rest. Could you please leave? You're nothing but a liar." The moment Jian Mei finished her sentence, Jiang Ruyan's eyes flashed with rage as she yelled at her, "You intentionally set up my mother." At the sound of Jiang Ruyan's accusation, a flicker of panic passed over Jian Mei's eyes, only to disappear swiftly. She turned to face Jiang Ruyan, wearing a smile. "Second miss, I'm afraid one don't understand what you mean." Although Jian Mei had swiftly recovered her composure, Jiang Peihuan had kept a steady gaze on her, catching the brief guilt in her eyes. Jiang Ruyan didn't let up. "You accused my mother of poisoning you. Do you even know how much poison was supposedly in that soup? 2 taels worth. If you'd indeed consumed the soup, you would be dead by now. So you weren't poisoned." Hearing the initial part of Jiang Ruyan's statement, panic flickered in Jian Mei's eyes once more, but by the end, she had regained her composure. She turned to Jiang Ruyan, her voice steady. "Second miss, I'm not sure why you're making such unfounded accusations against me. If you believe I'm poisoned, why not get a doctor to verify it? Why resort to unfounded claims? Indeed, you've been poisoned by arsenic. But the dose you've ingested could only inflict some harm to your body. Certainly not lethal." Jian Mei's words were followed by Jiang Peihuan's calm retort. Settling into a nearby chair, she continued, "Miss Jian, if I'm not mistaken, you were the one who added the arsenic to the soup, right? Your ignorance about medical matters led you to believe that just adding the poison would work. But you didn't consider the mismatch between the dosage and your symptoms. Those are mere conjectures. Do you have any concrete evidence? She stared coldly at Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Peihuan voiced a chilled whisper. The evidence will present itself soon enough. No sooner had Jiang Peihuan's words settled, a commotion arose from outside. Following this, Deputy General Liu led a man into Jian Mei's room. Upon seeing the man, Shi Er's eyes lit up with a tinge of panic. Surprise flitted across Jian Mei's eyes, but she didn't display a hint of worry. She directed a contemptuous gaze at Jiang Peihuan. Miss, what's the meaning of this? Miss Jian, have patience. All will be revealed shortly. As the time to sip half a cup of tea passed, both Jiang Yuan and Zhou Rongfang entered Jian Mei's room. Observing the situation, Jiang Yuan's eyebrows furrowed. Turning to Jiang Ruyan, he asked, Yin Er, have you discovered something? And who is this man? Jiang Ruyan looked at Jiang Peihuan. After receiving her nod, she turned to her father. Father, this young man is an apprentice from the 100 Herb Hall. The arsenic found in this soup was bought from him by Shi Er. Shi Er bought it. Jiang Yuan was shocked by this information. His gaze instinctively went to Jian Mei, only to find her eyes brimming with tears, her head shaking incessantly. Taking note of her reaction, Jiang Yuan's expression turned icy as he fixed his eyes on the apprentice. Let me ask you, did this made truly buy arsenic from you? In response to Lord Jiang, indeed someone from your household bought arsenic from me. But it wasn't this young lady here, but that one over there. The apprentice raised his hand, pointing straight at Ping Er, who was standing next to Zhou Rongfang. No, I didn't. You're lying. I've never bought any arsenic. Madam, so it was indeed you. Upon hearing the apprentice's words, fear took hold in Ping Er's eyes. Jian Mei, her eyes filled with tears, looked towards Zhou Rongfang, who was visibly stunned. Jiang Ruyan was also stunned, her gaze fixed on the apprentice. You're spouting nonsense, you. Enough! At this juncture, Jiang Yuan raised his voice, his eyes reflecting his irritation. Turning towards Zhou Rongfang, Jiang Yuan's eyes were dark and his words heavy. Initially, one thought your only flaw was a bad temper. Now it seems that you... Second uncle? Before Jiang Yuan could finish, Jiang Peihuan interjected. Seeing that Jiang Yuan was looking at her, Jian Peihuan said softly, Second uncle, the matter has not been investigated clearly. You cannot accuse second aunt just like that. Isn't the matter clear enough? The apprentice has already spoken. But that's just one side of the story. Initially, Jiang Ruyan's eyes reflected nothing but panic. However, when she saw Jian Peihuan's indifferent appearance, her emotions suddenly calmed down. Rising to her feet, Jiang Peihuan approached Jiang Yuan, her voice soft. Second uncle, ordinarily, this matter would only concern you and second aunt, and one shouldn't interfere. However, our Jiang family has always been united, which is why one took the liberty to intervene. Please forgive me. Second uncle, may I ask this apprentice a few questions? Go ahead, Jiang Yuan allowed, causing Jiang Peihuan to nod in acknowledgement. Turning to the apprentice, Jiang Peihuan's demeanor was calm, her voice gentle. However, her words instantly threw him into disarray. You claim that Ping Er purchased the arsenic from you, correct? Following her gaze to Ping Er, the medicine boy nodded almost instinctively. Very well. If Ping Er was indeed the one who purchased the arsenic, one have a few questions. When did she make this purchase? Before the apprentice could speak, Jiang Peihuan preempted him. Think before you answer. Our servants need to report when they leave the premises. If she was on duty at the time you claim, your story won't hold up. Moreover, she must have paid you for the arsenic. Did she use silver notes, coins, or perhaps copper? Finally, do you remember what color her clothes were when she came to buy the arsenic? With each question Jiang Peihuan asked, the apprentice's complexion grew paler. Eventually, he gritted his teeth and muttered, One was too busy at that time, so I can't recall. Jiang Peihuan responded. It's understandable to forget given the heavy traffic at the 100 Herb Hall. But as one remember, the hall keeps a record of everyone who makes a purchase. Turning back to Jiang Yuan, she continued. Second uncle, Why don't we have the proprietor of the 100 Herb Hall bring their ledger? We can check if Ping Er was at the mansion when the arsenic was supposedly purchased. If she was, then this medicine boy must be lying. Deputy General Liu, bring the manager of the 100 Herb Hall here, commanded Jiang Yuan. Yes, sir. As Deputy General Liu made to leave, the apprentice, filled with panic, cried out, No, don't. Please spare me. I lied. At his confession, Jiang Yuan's eyes narrowed dangerously. His voice was icy cold as he declared, Speak the truth quickly, or I'll have you thrown in jail. Chapter 92. The cause of poisoning. Yes, it was her. The medicine apprentice's eyes were awash with panic at the mention of jail. He raised his hand and pointed at Shi Er. No, it wasn't me. Seeing the apprentice's finger accusingly pointed at her, Shi Er instantly fell to her knees. However, her hands fluttered in denial, her voice vehemently contradicting his claim. Observing her denial, the apprentice grew more frantic, hurriedly speaking up. Miss, you were the one who bought 2 taels of arsenic from me. I even asked you then why you were buying so much arsenic, and you said there were rats at home. You arrived at noon. One remember it clearly. No, it really wasn't me, one didn't. Whether it was or wasn't, we will know by asking the gatekeeper. Seeing Shi Er persisting in her denial, Jiang Peihuan spoke up calmly. Despite her words being directed at Shi Er, her gaze remained fixated on Jian Mei during the entire exchange. Even at this point, there was no hint of panic in Jian Mei's eyes. Witnessing this, Jiang Peihuan's brow furrowed. No need to call anyone. I instructed Shi Er to buy the arsenic. Miss Jian, was it truly you? Jian Mei's sudden admission caught everyone off guard. Meeting their stunned gazes, she kneeled in front of Jiang Yuan, bowing deeply. As she lifted her face, her eyes were wet with tears. Lord Jiang, one know the madam didn't want me to join the household, so one resorted to this strategy. I've been deluding myself. One understand the deep bond between you and the madam. In that case, please forget about that night's event. Let's pretend as if nothing has happened. One will leave the mansion soon and bid you take care. With these words, Jian Mei, her face streaked with tears, turned to pack her belongings. Jiang Yuan, watching her receding figure, spoke up. You don't have to leave. 111 accept you into the mansion today. Father. Upon hearing this, Jiang Ruyan was taken back. She moved forward, subconsciously about to protest, but was promptly held back by Jiang Peihuan. A moment later, Jiang Yuan had cleared the room of everyone. Big sister, why did you stop me earlier? Second uncle has obviously made his decision. Do you believe a few words from you could change his mind? Listening to Jiang Peihuan's words, a surge of anger filled Jiang Ruyan's eyes. Jian Mei clearly framed my mother intentionally. How could father even think about welcoming her into our household? That's exactly what we need to investigate. Seeing Jiang Ruyan's darkened expression, Jiang Peihuan spoke in a low voice. Jian Mei's entry into our household is inevitable. Instead of brooding here, it would be better to find a way to console your second aunt. Also, Jian Mei must have ulterior motives for getting close to our uncle. Once she enters the house, you need to have people keep a close watch on her. Big sister, I'll remember your words. After tormenting for so long, the sky was about to turn bright. After parting ways with Jiang Ruyan, Jian Peihuan went back to her own plum garden. After that point, Jian Peihuan was no longer sleepy. Sitting down on the chair in the living room, Jiang Peihuan was thinking about Jiang Mei. There was one thing that Jiang Peihuan could not figure out. Jiang Yuan, though conservative in his ways, was far from foolish. She couldn't fathom why he would still accept Jian Mei into the family after uncovering her scheming tactics. Miss, have some ginseng tea. You woke exceptionally early today. Yu Er offered a cup of tea, her voice soft and soothing. Jiang Peihuan reached for the tea, but as she was about to sip it, she felt a twinge of pain in her head. Miss, are you not feeling well? Yi Xiao, who had been standing quietly nearby, asked gently upon seeing Jiang Peihuan massaging her temples. My head aches slightly. Perhaps because one rose too early, she responded. Miss, one know a massage technique that could help. Shall one? Yes, please. Jian Peihuan really felt a headache. Under Yi Xiao's arrangement, she lay down on the couch. Sitting behind her, Yi Xiao applied gentle pressure to her head. Soon, the tension seemed to ease, replaced by a growing drowsiness. Miss, it would be beneficial to sleep a bit more. It can help ease the headache, suggested Yi Xiao. Yes. Relieved by Yi Xiao's words, Jiang Peihuan felt her body relaxing. Yi Xiao continued her massage until she heard steady breathing, signifying Jiang Peihuan had fallen asleep. Only then did she cease her movements. Seeing this, Yu Er quietly draped a blanket over Jiang Peihuan. Then, lowering her voice, she turned to Yi Xiao. You truly have a knack for this, helping Miss get a good sleep. Eldest Miss is overworking herself. Coupled with tonight's lack of sleep, it's no wonder she has a headache. Once she has rested, she will feel better. We should step outside for a bit, Yi Xiao suggested, to which Yu Er nodded in agreement. The two of them cautiously stepped outside. Just as they emerged into the courtyard, they noticed Lu Er rapidly approaching. Catching sight of them, Lu Er quickly asked, Where is eldest Miss? Keep your voice down. The young miss is asleep. Upon hearing this, Lu Er instinctively softened her tone. Noticing the flurry in her eyes, Yu Er gently inquired, What's going on? Isn't it the issue with Fong Garden? Second Master is planning to welcome Miss Jian into the household today, and asked Second Madam to supervise the affairs. However, Second Madam had a major quarrel with Second Master and returned to her maternal home. So, with Second Madam returning to her maternal home at this point, isn't she making way for Miss Jian? It's not Miss Jian now but Aunt May. The entire Jiang was buzzing with Jian Mai's news, but this didn't concern Jiang Peihuan. Perhaps due to sheer exhaustion, Jiang Peihuan slept a long time. When she opened her eyes, it was already afternoon. Miss, you're finally awake. If Yi Xiao hadn't told me that you were just asleep, one would have called for the doctor, said Yu Er, who had been vigilantly staying by the bedside. Seeing Jiang Peihuan open her eyes, she promptly set aside the embroidery she had been working on. Feeling much refreshed after the nap, Jiang Peihuan, hearing Yu Er's voice, asked softly, What time is it now? It's nearly time for dinner. Eldest Miss, please freshen up. Let's get ready. We have to attend dinner at Fong Garden tonight. At Jiang Peihuan's puzzled look, Yu Er briefly recounted the incidents at Fong Garden and whispered, Old Madame Jiang has given her blessing for the Second Master to bring Aunt May into the Fanyaki. So, this evening at Fong Garden can be seen as a celebration. Grandmother agreed to second uncle taking a concubine? Jian Peihuan was not surprised by other things, but she was really surprised that the old madam agreed to this. Not only did the old madam agree, but also asked third madam to assist with tonight's dinner preparations to make it a bit more festive. Yu Er, please go and find a suitable congratulatory gift. Chapter 93. Aunt May. Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan's eyes briefly flickered before she turned to address Yu Er. An hour later, Jiang Peihuan accompanied Yu Er to Fong Garden. As they approached the entrance, they were greeted by the sight of a jubilantly decorated interior. Once they stepped inside, Jiang Peihuan noticed that almost the entire Jiang family was present, with the exception of Jiang Hong and Jiang Ren. Elder sister? Jiang Xijin and Jiang Songbai had already arrived. Seeing Jiang Peihuan appear, they promptly approached her. Jiang Peihuan scanned the room, but didn't see Jiang Ruyun. Turning to Jiang Xijin, she asked, Where's your second sister? I'm not sure where she's gone. The eldest brother went to find her. I'll check on it. You two stay here. Seeing many people who were acquainted with Jiang Yuan, Jiang Peihuan quietly instructed Jiang Xijin and Jiang Songbai. After both of them nodded in agreement, Jiang Peihuan headed towards the backyard. Jiang Peihuan searched high and low, but found no sign of Jiang Ruyun. Just as she was about to head back, she noticed Jian Mei, who was all dolled up. Jian Mei had shed her previous innocent look. Now, she was wearing an exquisite orange dress, and her hair was adorned with a multitude of intricate accessories complicated. Young Miss, Aunt May. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's form of address, a flash of disgust crossed Jian Mei's eyes. Even though she quickly hid it, Jiang Peihuan captured that fleeting emotion. I didn't expect you to come, Mississippi. I was under the impression that you harbored a strong dislike for me. Why would I hate you, Aunt May? What have you done to warrant that? Despite Jian Mai's provocative tone, Jiang Peihuan remained calm and collected. Recalling Meng Yi's advice, Jian Mai's face changed slightly. She advanced until she was just 2 steps away from Jiang Peihuan, then spoke in a frosty tone. Miss, are you curious as to why Jiang Yuan and the old madam agreed to welcome me into the family? Aunt May, are you willing to tell me? Jiang Peihuan was genuinely curious about this, especially since the old Madam Jiang had given her consent. It made her even more intrigued. Do you know my family background, miss? I do. You, too, are a daughter of a noble house, and your father was a general under my father. You're aware of that? At Jiang Peihuan's response, surprise flickered in Jian Mai's eyes. But soon, a smug expression took its place. Eldest miss, you only know that my father served under the Grand General, but did you know that my father also saved Jiang Yuan's life? Jian Mai's father was actually Jiang Yuan's savior. This was indeed something that Jiang Peihuan did not know. But now Jiang Peihuan understood why old Madam Jiang agreed to let Jiang Yuan and Jiang Mei enter the family. Seeing Jiang Peihuan silent, a triumphant look took hold in Jian Mai's eyes. Miss, given this history, Jiang Yuan will go to great lengths to treat me well. If he doesn't, although your father is the lifesaver of second uncle, if second uncle finds out that your intentions aren't so pure, I fear he won't be as lenient. Jiang Peihuan gently cut her off before she could finish. Shocked, Jian Mei looked at Jiang Peihuan, masking her surprise with a sarcastic chuckle. I'm not sure I understand what you're implying. Do you really not know, Aunt May? The deal between you and Meng Yi, or should I say, with the Prince of Qing? With every word that Jian Peihuan said, Jian Mai's expression became uglier. However, once Jiang Peihuan finished, Jian Mei appeared unfazed. She looked at Jiang Peihuan and said, Eldest miss, all this conjecture, but it's merely hearsay without any proof. You don't have any evidence. You're right. One don't have any evidence yet, but remember there are no walls without ears. From this point on, they'll be watching you, Aunt May. Any action against the Jiang family won't go unnoticed or unpunished. As her words hung in the air, a sudden smile lit up Jiang Peihuan's face. Jian Mei seethed, about to retort when Jiang Peihuan called out, Second uncle. Huan heir, what brings you here? Came the voice of Jiang Yuan. Today is a joyous occasion for you and Aunt May, so I've brought a small token of congratulations, Jiang Peihuan replied warmly. At her cue, Yu heir stepped forward and opened a box, revealing a beautiful white jade bracelet within. The box opened, revealing the white jade bracelet inside. Upon seeing the gift, Jiang Yuan's face softened. Your thoughtfulness warms my heart. Yun heir is already having fun in the front. Go join her. Nodding to Jiang Yuan, Jiang Peihuan, accompanied by Yu heir, took her leave. As they left, Jian Mei glared at their retreating figures, her hands clenched in tight fists. But when she turned to Jiang Yuan, she wore a soft, loving smile. My dear, she murmured. Come, today is our day. We have many guests waiting, he replied. Yes. In the courtyard. Jian Peihuan had just walked into the courtyard when she saw Jiang Ruyan, whose eyes were red. There are quite a number of people here today. No matter what, don't let outsiders laugh at you. Hearing Jian Peihuan's words, Jiang Ruyan's eyes turned red again. She looked at her and said in a low voice, Elder sister, my mother has already gone to my maternal grandfather's house. After such an incident, it's good to let second aunt rest for 2 days. Don't worry, your marriage with the Chow family has already been decided. No matter how angry second aunt is, she will come back to handle your marriage. Under Jiang Peihuan's comfort, Jiang Ruyan managed to calm down somewhat. But, seeing Jiang Mei shadowing Jiang Yuan, tending to his every need, a spark of fury still ignited in Jiang Ruyan's eyes. In the past, Jiang Ruyan would have charged straight towards them. However, remembering Jiang Peihuan's caution about avoiding public ridicule, she clenched her fists tightly and retreated to the solace of her room instead. Eldest sister, second sister? Looking at Jiang Ruyan's back as she left, There was a hint of worry in Jiang Saijin's eyes. After contemplating for a moment, Jiang Peihuan responded softly, "Go check on her. Comfort your second sister a bit." Understood. Jiang Sijin followed in the direction that Jiang Ruyan had taken. As for Jiang Peihuan, she chose not to linger in the aftermath of the ceremony. She headed straight back to her haven, the plum garden. From then on, an additional member graced the second branch of the Jiang family, concubine Mei. When Jiang Peihuan returned to her plum garden, it was still early. However, a faint aroma, cold yet comforting, permeated the air. This unique scent belonged solely to Xiaonani. Sure enough, Jiang Peihuan pushed open the door and saw Xiaonani sitting on the chair. As expected, upon opening the door, she found Xiaonani perched on a chair, engrossed in a medical book that she frequently read. "You're back. I've been waiting for you for quite some time." Hearing his voice, the man set the book aside. A strange sensation filled Jiang Peihuan's heart as she took in the familiar rhythm of his speech. "Today my second uncle accepted a concubine. Hence, I attended dinner at Fong Garden." Accepted a concubine? If my memory serves right, isn't there a rule in your family that a man can only take a concubine if he's childless by the age of 40? But your second uncle, hasn't he already fathered a daughter? Published at 30th of August, 2023, 7:19 and 38 seconds AM. Chapter 94. Chapter 94. Unafraid of getting beaten up again if audio player doesn't work. Press stop then play button again. Chapter 94. Unafraid of getting beaten up again. "It's a long story," she started. "Well, let's make it short." The man turned and looked at Jiang Peihuan with a curious look. If not for the man's familiar face, Jiang Peihuan would have thought that the person in front of her was pretending to be Xiaonani. However, seeing the man's interested look, Jiang Peihuan quickly explained everything to him, including stuff about Meng Yi and Xiao Juanhao. As Jiang Peihuan spoke, Xiaonani was quiet, listening carefully. When she finished, his expression was calm, and there was no surprise. Looking at the man, Jiang Peihuan had to ask, "Did you already know all of this?" "I knew a bit about Xiao Juanhao, but one didn't know that his people were close to your father." This was something that Xiaonani wasn't aware of, and even Jiang Peihuan wouldn't have known if it wasn't for something that happened in her past life. Seeing Jiang Peihuan's silence, Xiaonani spoke softly. "So, you're worried that your second uncle's new wife might do something bad to the Jiang family?" "Yes, one don't know what her backers are planning. If I'm guessing right, Xiao Juanhao probably sent your second uncle's new wife to spy on the Jiang family. But if you're still worried, I have a way to help you solve this problem completely." "What's that?" "Kill her." As soon as Jiang Peihuan finished speaking, Xiaonani replied directly. Hearing this, Jiang Peihuan was lost for words. Looking at the man, she spoke softly. "Even if we ignore the special circumstances of Aunt Mei, if we kill her, won't there be others? We can't just kill everyone who comes." "Then there is another way." Jiang Peihuan didn't respond, opting to gaze at the man in silence. Meeting her questioning look, Xiaonani continued. "A thief can only steal for so long, but no one can be on guard forever. So, to deal with this, all you need to do is allow your second uncle to fall into their trap a few more times. 1 or 2 instances, and he might still feel indebted due to the life-saving favor. But if it occurs too often, even if your second uncle wants to be considerate, your father would object." Hearing Xiaonani's words, a light flickered in Jiang Peihuan's eyes. After knowing that Jian Mei was sent by Meng Yi, her initial thought was to guard against and monitor the woman. She hadn't considered allowing Jian Mei to expose herself. Nevertheless, she had to admit, Xiaonani's strategy was quite brilliant. "Your Highness, let me change your bandages first." While she spoke, Jiang Peihuan had already grabbed a bottle of medicine from the vanity table, a leftover from Xiaonani's visit the previous night. She placed the ceramic bottle on the table, gently unwinding the handkerchief around the man's injured arm. The wound was showing signs of healing. Jiang Peihuan carefully smeared on the medicine, followed by wrapping a fresh handkerchief around the treated wound. "It's all right now. The wound is healing." Try not to disturb it for a couple of days. As Jiang Peihuan was still talking, Xiao Nani unexpectedly bent over, lightly kissing her cheek. He quickly pulled back. The fleeting kiss, light as a dragonfly touching water, felt like a feather landing on Jiang Peihuan's heart, causing a tickling sensation. You! She lifted her gaze towards the man in front of her, utterly startled. Meeting her eyes, Xiao Nani couldn't resist circling his arms around her neck. However, Jiang Peihuan reacted swiftly this time. Before the man could lean in, she forcefully pushed him away. Immediately, she drew out her waist-length whip. Seeing the whip lunge towards him, Xiao Nani quickly retreated. The stool he had just been sitting on was now in pieces. The man promptly darted out of the door, glancing back at the woman by the entrance. He chuckled softly. Huan Heir, are you planning on murdering your own husband? Upon hearing Xiao Nani's words, Jiang Peihuan remained silent, but her lips curled up into a smile. Seeing the smile on her face, Xiao Nani was stunned. At that moment, Jiang Peihuan flicked her wrist, and the whip on the ground surged towards his face. A gust of wind raced past his nose. Xiao Nani watched as the whip whizzed past his face, his expression shifting as Jiang Peihuan lunged at him. Realizing Jiang Peihuan was serious, Xiao Nani no longer dared to underestimate her, and began to engage in the fight. From a tree nearby, Han Feng, hearing the commotion, quickly opened his eyes. Upon witnessing the unfolding scene, he was stunned. After a moment's hesitation, he silently stayed where he was and pretended not to see anything. Afraid of hurting Jiang Peihuan, Xiao Nani didn't dare to take out his folding fan, and was forced to evade barehanded. Soon, his wrists got entwined in Jiang Peihuan's whip. Before he could react, she kicked him onto the ground. Who dares to barge into the general's mansion? As Xiao Nani fell to the ground, the entrance gate to the plum garden swung open. Leading the pack was Deputy General Liu Qingcheng. Looking at the person who fell to the ground, Deputy General Liu's eyes widened in surprise. Xiao Nani clutched his chest, wincing in pain, a grimace appearing at the corner of his mouth. Miss, are you all right? Deputy General Liu could tell at first glance who was in a predicament. Yet when he approached Jiang Peihuan, he still softly asked her. Upon hearing Deputy General Liu's words, Jiang Peihuan shook her head. I'm fine. Following this, Jiang Peihuan descended the steps, looking at Xiao Nani as he got up from the ground. She said in a soft voice, It's getting late, Your Highness. You should head back. If it weren't for the constant throbbing in his chest, Xiao Nani would have believed that the kick he just received was only a figment of his imagination. Deputy General Liu, all of you should return and rest. Yes, miss, came the response. After saying this, Jiang Peihuan headed straight into her room. Once the door was shut behind her, she touched her face. The warmth from his touch seemed to linger on her skin. Outside the room, seeing Xiao Nani scaling the wall to leave, Han Feng hurriedly followed him. Observing Xiao Nani seated on Jue Yun's back, he couldn't help but ask, Master, what on earth did you do to make the mist so furious? Recalling the tender sensation from moments ago, Xiao Nani's lips curled up in a smile. But upon hearing Han Feng's question, the man cast a frosty glance at him. You're quite the loyal shadow guard, watching your master get beaten and not stepping in. Han Feng was left speechless. Master, you can't blame me. When you and the mist got physical, I didn't know whose side to take. It seemed wiser to stay out of the way, avoiding getting caught in the crossfire of an immortal battle. Xiao Nani just looked at him coldly, choosing not to respond. Master, will you be coming back tomorrow night? Hearing Han Feng's question, Xiao Nani gripped Jue Yun's reins tighter and gave a nod. I will. Upon seeing Xiao Nani's nod, Han Feng appeared at a loss for words. Was he truly unafraid of getting beaten up again? However, it won't be in the night. It will be during the day. You're going to climb over the wall in broad daylight? Aren't you scared that the general will throw you out? Why do I need to climb the wall? Can't I just use the front entrance? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.